on the beat. Oh, get up and check your cheeks.
Hello and welcome to The Middle is Open. Abel Carrillo here along with Anthony Espelin.
What's up, guys?
And then, guys, I guess it's just Anthony and myself today. But don't worry, because we're actually going to be talking about paranormal stuff. We're going to be talking about ghosts. We're going to give you a little bit of history and things like that. Ben, are you mic'd up today? No. So, okay, Anthony. Ben's back in studio. I know last week you were kind of struggling a little bit because it was like the first time in a couple of weeks that you didn't have your intern.
Yeah, it was definitely difficult, man. I forgot how hard it was to go back and forth and then mix the audio board and the video and still have a conversation. So, yeah, it was tough, but I'm glad he's back.
Yeah. How valuable is Ben to you?
Well, I don't want to get his ego up too much, but I mean, he's pretty valuable, I think.
Because, like, to me, he ain't valuable. Like, to me, he's like the kicker on the team.
He's not helping you, but he's helping me.
Yeah. He saves you every once in a while.
Yeah.
But it's good to have Ben back in the studio. He's our intern. But I'm gonna go ahead and introduce our guest. So this is what would you call it, Anthony? A reoccurring guest?
Yes.
So we have
2-time.
Yeah, this is Ramiro Galvan. He's on the show today. It's his second time on the show. We had him last year. Unfortunately, it was not the best experience with Ramiro, not because of him and his stories weren't good. It's just that we had him via like
Zoom.
Google Duo or Zoom or whatever it was. But now we have you in studio, Ramiro. How is it?
Much better.
Much better?
Yep.
Yeah? Do you feel comfortable in our studio now?
Yeah. Now I can reach over and smack you guys when I need to.
But the cool thing is that Ramiro brought a couple of his teammates. And he's got Tony Olivares. And then
hello.
How's it going, Tony?
It's going good so far.
And then he's got Jackie Kaney.
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
Good.
Are you all good? You're all comfortable today?
Very comfortable.
All right, cool. So I just wanted to tell you guys that we're gonna kind of go over some of your guys' background and how you guys got into the game, the paranormal game. I mean, I don't know what to really call it. What is it? How can I like label you guys?
Just normal paranormal investigators.
Normal paranormal investigators.
Yeah.
Okay.
If there's such a term like that.
I mean, I don't know. This is all totally new to me.
Well, to give you an idea, we have a mission statement that we created for our team some years back. And basically the mission statement is a two-parter. The first one is we investigate reports of phenomena, and whether they're legends, urban stories, or based on reality, we investigate those to see if there's any truth to that or not. And we provide guidance as needed. The second part of our mission statement is we assist local groups, organizations, and other places as well, for that matter, in raising awareness of their places or their locations, especially if it's a historic type environment. Because all too often, there's a lot of history in these places that people tend to overlook, or maybe you may not have learned in the history books.
Yeah.
And so by us doing what we do, raises that bar. And then we also help them do fundraise, because many of these organizations we do, which is like museums and like local community college here in El Paso, those kind of places, by doing what we do, is that it helps to raise funds for them. Mm-hmm. Okay, and we are strictly a nonprofit group, so that means we get nothing. They don't pay us for any of our services. We do this because we love we're passionate about what we do, and we love the history of the places.
Kind of sounds like our podcast. We don't get paid for this, guys.
Yeah, it's a passion.
We just do it for the love of the game.
That's
basically
there you go.
What it is. So last time we had you on the show, Ramiro, you gave us a few stories, and then you talked about like how you got into this this side profession of yours. I kind of want to hear from Tony as well as Jackie how you all came into the game.
The reason I'm here, I'm talking back when I was probably in grade school. Me and a couple of friends had seen something, which we ran home. I told my parents what I had seen, and they blew me off like, oh, it's just a gust of wind picking up the dirt. Mm-hmm. And I go, nah. I mean, I know a gust of wind when I see one. And what I saw, it was forming like a figure. And I go, no. And where I saw it was where there was walls all around. So there's no wind that was going in there. And I can see something forming, something coming out of like the ground or something and forming some sort of a figure. And when my other friends that were with me, we stopped and we were watching this take place, and we just didn't even say nothing to each other. We just took off. We got scared and we ran.
Yeah. And
when we got to the house, we all split. We all went to our houses trying to tell our parents what we had just seen. And when I told my parents, they were like, hold on, I can't understand what you're saying. I go, well, it's just that I want you to go see before it disappears. And what did you see? And I told them. They goes, no, yeah. I mean, it's a gust of wind, doing a little twirly thing and whatever.
Like a dust devil.
Yeah, dust devil, And I go, no, not where I saw it at. And it's not even windy outside. But, I was a kid. And they're like, no. And I've had that. And I still, I'm seeing it right now as I talk. I'm seeing it exactly like I saw it when I was in grade school. And it's been on me for years.
Yeah.
For years. And I've always been interested in this. But, life goes on and you continue with other ventures and stuff. You go to school, high school, graduate, go to work and think. But it's always been there. And it's still in me. I mean, I still see it. And I've always wanted to join a paranormal investigation group. Mm-hmm. To kind of see what it was that I had seen back then. And I was fortunate enough to meet Ramiro. And he gives free classes, as a matter of fact, for anybody that wants to join us. Mm-hmm. And when I met him, I go, man, I've been looking for someone like this for years, all my life. So I'm on my 6th year with this group. But yeah, I've learned a lot. Ramiro is very knowledgeable with paranormal things.
When you first, I guess, were seeking for this team, were you you were just doing it purely off of your experience, like, hey, you want answers to what you saw, or do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Well, not only that. Sure. I still, and I don't think I'll ever get my answer what I saw that day. Mm-hmm. But being that I know what I saw, even though with my parents, trying to tell me what it was that I had seen, I go, that's not what I saw. Mm-hmm. And I know I know it was something more than just a dust devil.
Yeah.
I know that 100%. And I've been trying to figure out what it was.
Yeah.
And now, as I grew older, the more I read, the more I saw, I was more interested in the paranormal.
Yeah.
And here I am now.
That's cool. Jackie, what was your first experience, or how did you want to get into this paranormal investigation team?
Yeah, well, it was pretty similar. Like Tony had said, I lived in Chicago for more than 20 years. And I used to be a real estate agent in Chicago. So in Chicago, there is a lot of history, old buildings, and a lot of history. So I had encounters in some of those buildings. And it always haunted me that what I saw, like Tony, what was that? Or am I getting crazy? Or what am I seeing these things that I never had an explanation for?
Yeah.
So then I moved to El Paso 3 years ago, and then for 1 year I just went, just like getting familiar with El Paso, and it's a nice city and everything, but it's a little boring. so that's what I like. Oh no, maybe I should go back. Then I just went online and saw, like, looking for paranormal. And then I found out that Ramiro was giving these classes at the library, a local library. And then I joined for one of the classes, and like Tony, I just fell in love with him in a way that he was so knowledgeable. And then the way that he was, you know, a non-for-profit, which is, that goes with me perfectly. And all the equipment that he has, which I bet, you know, I don't know how many years he took to get all these, but this is a huge equipment that he has. And then he shares everything with us, like we don't have to buy anything. He's the one that provide everything for us. And we start doing investigations, and along the way I have been growing up on you know, how to do the investigations. At the beginning, the first very investigation that we had, I had this encounter, you know, something blowing on my ear a couple of times until I get mad. And then Ramiro taught me how to, you know, like not allow those things to affect me, like physically, you know, by protecting myself. But it was a very, very weird encounter because I was filming and, you know, feeling this wind blowing on my ears. And then it was one time, and then 1 minute after another time, and then you know, another minute, and then another time, until I, you know, like it was weird. After that, we have been seeing many things that I don't have an explanation for.
For sure. For some of our listeners that haven't heard the podcast with Ramiro, you want to go ahead and give your beginning story, just revisiting what we did in that first podcast.
Well, it all started in the North Pole, and I'm sorry, wrong story, wrong podcast here. What it boiled down to is kind of like Tony. I was attending for many of you local folks here in El Paso. I was actually going to Zavala School. Any Zavala alma mater here?
Nope. Does it exist? Does it still exist?
What the hell am I doing here again? No, Zavala is actually, as far as I know, it's still open, but it was an element. It was from 1st to 6th grade at the time. And I was in 4th grade, and I remember my teacher at the time would bring newspapers in for us to read. You know, she always encouraged her students to read. It was either that or the paddle, you know, back then when they allowed stuff like that. So
still haunts you today.
Well, I wouldn't say haunt me. Let's just say I've developed some rather esoteric taste after that. But anyway, that's a different story again. So what it boiled down to is that she brought this newspaper in, and it was an article in the El Paso Times. It was a reprint from an article in the Albuquerque Journal. And it was a picture of a round, silver-looking object. It was black and white back then. And it turned out that there was an NMSU student who was up in the Picacho Mountains, which is near Las Cruces, doing some work for his class. Okay. And what happened is that he saw this silver object just hanging motionless in the sky, making absolutely no sound. So he had enough time to snap a photo, and then when he turned to change the lens on his camera at the time, is what he reported. He looked up, and it was gone. No sound, no nothing. At that point... Yeah, I've always had an interest prior to that. I would read little mystery novels, books, things like that, you know. And they had a bunch of them back then. And even before that, I was always trying to arrange investigations into exploring mysteries at people's homes. I remember that very vividly. But when I saw that article, that's when I realized that was my passion, was the unknown. You know, that solidified it. And so ever since then, even though life has gone on and I've undergone different career changes, you know, different things in life, raising a family, whatnot, my interest, my love, my passion for the unknown has never subsided.
When you say unknown, like what else do you mean by unknown?
The unexplained mysteries of life.
Yeah. Because when I think of unknown, like we all have those questions, right? Right. Like, so that's what really intrigues you.
Well, yeah. What intrigues me is that there's more than what we are here. There's got to be more to explain things that people encounter or experience that normally, typically, people don't ever run into. Yeah. Like they're driving down a back road and then all of a sudden they see something on the road or in the sky. Those kind of things. Or people who report seeing Bigfoot or the Loch Ness Monster, or say they've seen things in the Bermuda Triangle. Those are the type of mysteries that, there's a lot of things in this world that can't be explained yet. Yeah. and oftentimes, well, too many times, let me rephrase that, science kind of poo-poos it, saying, well, it doesn't fit in within our parameters. So my approach is, well, what if? But we just haven't found a suitable explanation or rationalization for it first. So there's got to be something out there, and there's just too many stories for somebody to just brush it off and say, well, it's just a figment of your imagination, you had too many to drink that night, or you rolled up too many cigarettes on your own, that kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by the unknown. Now, there's so many facets of the unknown that it would be almost impossible to try and explore all of that or investigate all of that. So we've kind of focused in more on what they call the ghosts and hauntings phenomena. And all too often, I mean, let's face it, everybody has a story of something that's happened personally to them at some point or another. There are those who will deny it until they're faced with documented evidence showing otherwise.
So you're saying everyone has a story, some kind of experience,
right? And sometimes it's buried because they don't want to accept it, or maybe they kind of feel, oh well, I'm just a plausible explanation. Might have been a gust of wind.
Yeah.
Might have been. I thought I felt somebody back there. Or I thought I saw a curtain move, or maybe the door creaked open, or any number of things going on like that. Or when they walk into a room, and they just get all of a sudden these the chills or the creepy feeling.
Because so it seems like you all had similar experiences, and you all took a liking to this world of paranormal, the unknown. And I've always said on this show, because we've had these conversations before, I've always said, like, I'm not a believer of paranormal stuff, ghost or the unknown. I'm kind of the guy that's like, it's a coincidence, or whatever.
Right.
Like, I guess I brush it off, right? So now that I'm older, I'm a little more fascinated with like this world. I guess when you're a kid, I guess you have like a lot of stuff going on, and you're just enjoying life, right? Like there's what's better than being a kid? But
an adult with money. No.
Right.
And then like now that I'm an adult, it's like, I guess I'm in a rut, and I'm like, I guess I start thinking about other things and what's more entertaining now and things like that. So I wish that, because I don't think I've ever had an experience, and that's part of the reason why I feel that this is not I'm not clowning on you guys. I'm not saying like, oh, that stuff doesn't exist. I just feel that I've never experienced anything. Well, fast forward to about a month ago, I came in studio and I told these guys, I've lived for 33 years, never experienced anything. I've always been a chicken. I've always been afraid of the dark. I've always been like, when someone's like, come on, man. Like, if you're not afraid of ghosts, let's go into this room. I'm like, like, it's like, I'm still scared. I'm a chicken. So, but last month, I came in studio and I told these guys that, hey, I went to Mesilla and I experienced something. A friend and me, we went to, they had something there in the little square, like, what is it called? Like the little placita that they have there. Yep. And as we were exiting the little placita, we were walking down the street, and we're right next to the building, and I experienced like something, like I heard something go like right in my ear, like I swear, like right in my ear. It was like, and then I was like what the, like I kind of turned like what was that?
You sure it wasn't followed by something saying $10 for an hour?
No, but it was funny, because here was the thing. I was walking on the outside of the sidewalk toward the, like next to the street. She was on the inside next to the building, right? So as we are walking together, I hear something like a whisper, and I like immediately turn like what? Like, but I didn't say anything. I was like, and she had turned as I had turned, and she's like, and she looked at me and she's like, did you hear that? And I was like, wait, what? You heard it too? Like, Like, I didn't influence her. She didn't influence me. It was at the same exact time. And I was like, what did I just experience? You know, and it brought chills. Like, I was like, oh, man, that's cool. But I kept on walking, and I was like, dude, that's crazy. And then she was like, wait, like, was that something? And I'm like, there was a window there, but it was an old building. Nobody was in there, you know? So I was like, let's go back. And then she's like, no, I don't want to go back. And then I'm like, okay, chicken. Like, I was trying to be like the tough guy or whatever. But later on that night, I was like, man, I wonder what it was. Like, I'm really curious to like know what that was. If it was a gust of wind or something like that. And that's the first time in my life. I don't know if that's an experience that you're talking about, because up until that point, I had never experienced anything. And that was the first time where I can honestly say, like, with no BS, that I heard something. And it was like someone whispering in my ear. I don't know what they said, but someone whispered in my ear. And the person that was right next to me experienced the exact same thing at the exact same time with no influence whatsoever.
That's how it starts.
Well, you just fit the classic definition of a skeptic. A skeptic is somebody who doesn't believe in these things until they've had an actual experience. That's what a skeptic is. Okay. So oftentimes we may run into those type of experiences, but one of the things when I teach people in the classes that I give is that as kids growing up and when we're teenagers, we're more open because, we really haven't developed our own personalities yet, Mm-hmm. And but as you get older, pretty soon society starts imposing its standards on you, oh, you got to get a job, you got to do this, so pretty soon all that kind of starts taking precedence over everything else, and whatever you may have experienced as a kid kind of gets pushed aside until later on in life you have an experience after that. Then sometimes it brings back those rush of memories. And oftentimes people may not have had an experience. But when they do have an experience, they'll either go, okay, I encountered truly something unknown, or B, it was just somebody talking, or, they'll try to justify or rationalize what transpired at that moment. Mm-hmm. So keeping that in mind, I train, the team, I train them to try and be skeptics when we investigate. Yeah. Because it's really, really easy to fall into that trap of, oh, I heard something creaking. Yeah. Oh, must be paranormal. No, it could be structural settling, could be electrical, could be the refrigerator popping, ice maker, any number of things. So that's what we try to do, is we first look at the rational side of it first. Mm-hmm. And then before we take the next step of saying, okay, this is not rational. This is something that we can't find an explanation for. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes people want somebody to go in there and right away say, oh, you have ghosts, without even trying to find out what's going on. So make a long story short, what you experienced is what is called a personal experience or shared experience, because both of you experienced it at the same time. Yeah. Tony, I'll give you an example, and I use this very often when I talk to people about this.
Because I feel if I was by myself, I don't want to interrupt you, mm-hmm. but if I was by myself walking down the street, mm-hmm. and I heard the exact same thing, I would have more than likely turned, right? I would have turned and been like, what was that? And then, whatever. And then continue to walk. Right. But having that other person there.
Validating you.
Exactly. Yeah. That's all I needed to mm-hmm. know that, okay, that was real. You know?
Well, Tony can tell you about an experience that I think it was his very first experience with the unknown on a physical level. Remember, Tony, when we went to was it EPCC or was it the jail? Do you remember?
Well, which one are we talking about?
The one, the scream or the woman moaning.
Well, the scream was at EPCC.
That was the first one you encountered?
No, the first one was at the
jail.
At the jail.
Yeah, let him tell you about that. That was his first experience with something like you described.
Okay.
Yeah. and again, I'm probably just like you. I don't, I go into an investigation not thinking I'm going to see something. I don't go in there saying I'm going to watch a sofa float in the air and go across the room. No. But I do remember, as a matter of fact, this was my first investigation after I had gone to some classes that Ramiro gives for free. And there was another investigator with us, Myra. And well, after we had finished, because on the way back from Deming over to El Paso, it's an hour and 45 minutes drive, they were asking me, well, how did your first investigation go? Did you like it? Is that what you were thinking it was going to be about? And you see, I have never done an investigation before. I've never done one, never gone to one. It was my first one. And you see things in TV. I mean, there's things flying around, levitating.
Yeah.
I mean, poltergeist. I mean,
Yeah.
I was expecting that. And I go, and they're asking me, well, what you think? I go, no, I didn't see no thing flying around. The couches weren't, levitate. I go, yeah. So they're saying, well, it's not about that. It's not really about that. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because we went to an investigation in Las Cruces.
So that was your first investigation?
That was my first investigation.
Where was it again?
At the Doña Ana County Jail.
No, that was the Luna County Courthouse, wasn't it?
Oh, the Luna.
Okay.
The Luna, I'm sorry. Yeah,
In Deming.
In Deming. In Deming.
And then your experience with something was after this investigation was like a couple of weeks or
No, well, during the investigation.
Oh, it was that same one?
During the investigation,
Okay.
we I heard a scream in one of the jails there. And not only did I had experienced that, but when I heard it, I thought it was them behind me doing the scream. And now, the good thing is that we had the camera on. Well, I had the camera. So when I heard the scream, I heard it right in my ear. And they were behind me. So when I heard that, I turned around with the camera and I go, come on, guys. They're pulling my leg.
Yeah.
And no, it was, everybody was like, did you guys hear that? Did you guys hear that? I mean, a scream. I'm starting to get goosebumps right now. I mean, a scream from nowhere in the pitch dark. I mean, you can put your hand in front of you and you can't see your hand.
Yeah.
And that's how dark it is in there.
Yeah.
And here I am hearing a woman scream from nowhere. Man, I'm like, what? That was something else. That was something else. And and we had another investigation with the same results at the APCC. But yeah, now that, like you're saying, you heard a whisper? No, I heard a yell.
Yeah.
And man, let me tell you, there's a difference between a whisper and a scream.
So when you heard that yell, what was your thought? Like, I better get the hell out of here, or?
No, my thoughts were that was them pranking me.
Yeah.
That's what, and when they said, no, it's not us. Did everybody hear that?
Yeah.
I go, you're kidding me. I mean, clear as day. Clear as day, that scream.
That's crazy.
But see, what makes it more unique, and I'm sorry, Tony, but what makes it unique is that it was 3 of us from P.R.I. there, and there was 2 people from another group who were there with us at that night as well.
A separate investigation crew?
Well, no, they invited us to go over there.
Oh, okay.
So we said, cool, we'll go, and so it was 2 of them, and it was 3 of us from P.R.I. Me, Tony, and this other investigator, and the 3 of us heard the scream, okay, in the Doña Ana County Jail. It's documented on 3 different cameras that we're carrying. Mm-hmm. Yet, the other 2 people who were 10 feet away didn't hear a thing. Absolutely nothing. Because even Tony turned around and go, did you hear that? Did you hear that? And they're going, no, we didn't hear anything. So it was like, think about it. It was kind of like, it's an open in type environment, so sounds echo.
Yeah.
They didn't hear it. 10 feet away, and they did not hear that. Yet, we heard it and documented on camera. So how does that work out? You see, that's...
So is it like, would you say it's like a specific choosing of...
We don't understand that yet. See, that's the whole thing about this field, is that there's still a lot of things that we don't understand. We can't... how do I say? We try to rationalize it. We try to come up with theories to kind of explain what transpired, but they're all theories yet, still. Okay. And I'll be the first one to tell you that if anybody tells you, yeah, I know why this happened, I'll call BS on that.
Yeah.
Because we still haven't found the science yet to explain it, to what they would call we have the empirical data, the hard data to prove it.
Yeah.
But we don't know what caused it to happen that way. Does it make sense?
Yeah. I mean,
do you have an idea or a feeling of what you think it is? Is it all the same, all three of you, or do you guys all have a different opinion on what you think is causing this phenomenon to happen?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, Ramiro, that scream that we heard, that was where they used to have the women's
the women's general population.
Yeah. So where and also there was a lady that had passed away there, right? So we're thinking maybe it was her that did the scream.
Yeah. Well, Jackie.
Yeah, but it is important that the question you asked, because I am like Abel. I was super skeptic, and everything that I had seen prior, I always found these. It was my mind, playing tricks with me or whatever. I am not afraid of the dark. I can be walking in pitch dark and never been afraid of. But as soon as you start experience these body reactions to things that you cannot see, that's another thing. Like 90% of the time, you don't see anything or feel anything or hear anything. 8 hours of investigation. But that 10% is when you actually react to something that you felt that touched you, or you hear something and you look and nobody's around you. And that's, for me, it doesn't have explanation. The other 90%, we found explanation, because Ramiro is, as soon as we feel or hear something, we look for, maybe like an electrical wall-to-wall that you can be feeling, a magnetic a field in there, or, that old furniture that is falling apart, that is, cracking. So he's pretty good at stop and look around. What can be caused by that? So 90% of the time we found answers, logical answers.
Yeah.
But that other 10%, man, I don't know what to say.
When you guys end an investigation.
Well, sorry, can I interrupt you real quick?
Go for it.
Getting back to your original question, do I have a theory on that? I'm starting to form one, and it's based on years of doing investigations. But one of the most common threads that I've seen when something like that happens is because we're focusing on a certain aspect of that location. For example, when I was there with Tony that night with the other investigator, when we first investigated in 2011, I recorded the sound of a woman scream. But this was in broad daylight. Nobody else heard it. I didn't hear it, but it was on camera. Afterwards, when I reviewed the video and I heard that, I started doing research. Why would we hear a woman scream in the jail? Well, it turns out there's a little bit of unknown history in the jail, where there was a mysterious death that occurred of a waitress in the jail. To this day, nobody can explain why they found her in the condition they did, which was described as she died. Her face was contorted in fear, but she was found dead. But she screamed before she died. Her death certificate was changed multiple times to, say cause of death was different things. So ever since then, I keep telling people who go there, they take the tours or they go to investigate. I go, ask about the waitress, this waitress they took to jail named Mary Waters. Ask about her. This is like a piece of forgotten history that time has gone on. So every time I've been there, I've always asked about Mary Waters. And the other people who were there were like, well, we don't know anything about her. So I think that's when we heard it, right? But they didn't. At EPCC, it was me, Tony, and a police officer. And we were there before our very first investigation, walking through the building, and we're standing by some stairs where the alleged story is that a woman was pushed down the stairs and she died there. And that's why people said they've seen a figure in the window. People have said they've seen a woman up there. So we're there and we're focusing on this story. So, hey, is this the stairs where this woman was pushed, where she was allegedly murdered on? And the police officers, yeah, he says this and this. yeah, this is the stairs. And, well, do you ever experience anything out of the ordinary? He goes, no, I really don't pay attention to this stuff. As soon as he said that, all three of us, broad daylight, heard a woman scream right there at the stairs. Not once, but when we went back to investigate, we documented. And there was 3 police officers in the room right next to where it happened, and they didn't hear a thing. So the common thread there is that we were focusing on a particular aspect of that story. And I think by doing so brought that forward, or brought it to, you know, to the front. And we somehow made a connection, so to speak, which then allowed us to document this.
So
Am I making sense?
Yeah. No, so that I was gonna actually ask you something opposite of that. When you guys are doing an investigation, do you sometimes want to know less about the history of that spot, that building, that place, because maybe you guys might influence your thinking, you're already going in like, hey,
Sorry,
like,
we're looking at each other.
no. So like, let's say this house is haunted. I'm just saying, let's say this house is haunted, but we didn't tell you anything about it. And then you guys start to experience something. Well, we never gave you that information. So, hey, maybe there's something here. But then what about if we were to tell you like, hey, we're experiencing these things? You guys are already going in thinking, what were those things that you experienced? Oh, we hear noises. Oh, we hear this. Mm-hmm. So do you feel that sometimes it's better to go into an investigation blind? Or, like you mentioned, maybe going in and thinking those things, maybe there's a connection that is developing that will actually allow those things to surface?
Well, like, we rather not to know anything. Okay, that's the first thing. But Ramiro always investigates everything before, but he never tell us things. Okay. And the other thing is that once we are there, remember, we are there to prove there is nothing.
Not to look for something.
Exactly.
Mm.
So
you guys as an investigator, your whole point is to prove nothing is there?
Our point is to go in there and say, okay, are the stories true or not?
Okay.
You know, or is it just made up stories, or is it just urban legend that's been passed down?
Are you guys paranormal investigators or paranormal debunkers?
We're skeptics. There's a difference right there.
Okay.
As a skeptic, you go in. I do all the research prior. I do all the interviews.
But you don't tell your teammates.
I give them the option. Do you want to know or you don't want to know?
Okay.
And 9 times out of 10, they'll come back and say, no, they don't want to know. Okay. We got this investigation coming up next week. And I asked them, okay, I've already been through these places, and these are some of the, you know, do you guys want to know? Yes or no? They said no.
Okay.
Great. So they're going to go in there and have a firsthand experience. And by doing that, if they have an experience, does it corroborate, or does it align with what I was told, or will they experience something totally different?
Okay.
So in doing that, it's part of what again, going back to the classes that I teach people as part of being a paranormal investigator, is you have to interview clients first. In doing interviews, and sometimes I stress, you have to do multiple interviews, because sometimes during those interviews, there's little red flags that start popping up. Is this a valid story? Is there justification for this story? Is there a basis for this? Or are they looking for something else? So when looking for something like that, you know, we try to, what's the word I'm looking for? Try to look for red flags. You know, oh, you telling me that you're experiencing this over here. Well, that could possibly be something else altogether. You know, so I guess the best way I can describe it is, we're skeptics because we don't want to be influenced. And when we go talk to a client, we don't use terms like you just said, haunted. Because if we walk into a place and we say, well, tell us about your haunted place, what is that doing to them if they believe in that already? It's just
validating it.
Yeah, you're validating them. You're reinforcing their beliefs. So we go in there, we try to use neutral, specific language, meaning, okay, tell us about the phenomena. Tell us about what's the things that are happening here. Tell us of what you've experienced. But we don't use terms like ghosts. We don't use terms like during a client or during an investigation, poltergeist, or, you know, things like that. or some
Try
people
not to
say,
label it.
yeah,
You try not to label it.
yeah, because it does influence the client, but it also can influence as well, influence the investigator as well. So if you walk into a place and you've already been told, if you've already been told, oh, Mike, I guess the best example I can give you, I'm not sure if I told you this on the first podcast, the very best example I can give you is, I want to say it was about 9 years ago, we were asked to come in to investigate a building at NMSU. Mm-hmm. And when we got there, there was another team who had asked us to come in. So I was there with one other investigator, and we walk into the building, and as soon as we walked in, one of their investigators comes up. It was a woman. Oh, don't go down that hallway. Okay, why? There's a demon down there. There's a demon. I can feel it. Yeah. So we're like, all right. But as the evening progressed, my investigator was like, man, I got to go to the bathroom bad, but it's down that hallway. And after what she told us, I don't want to go down there. Yeah. So what happened to him?
Yeah.
He already
he's not focused anymore.
Well, he's not focused, but he's also got that thing in the back of his mind, what he heard. So rather than going as neutral, as a skeptic, he's now got that playing in the back of his mind. He's already now been influenced, whether he realizes it or not. Yeah. Now, was there a demon down at the end of the hall? Not that I encountered, because I went down there later. But
Ramiro's like, the hell with this, I'm going down.
I gotta go.
I don't care. I don't care what they say. I'm going out.
He's like, there's a demon down there? I'm going.
he's like, I gotta take a deuce, guys.
Yeah, no. I gotta go. You know what? I'm older, man. My bladder don't hold as much. So I had to go. So I went down there. But here's the thing. Her influence also actually affected me to a certain point, because when I had to go, I was like, do I really need to go or not? Yeah. But I said, no, I'm going to go. I have to overcome that. Yeah. That's mental suggestion. Okay. Right. So I went down there, and of course I'm standing there doing my thing. And then all of a sudden I just felt somebody standing behind me. This is an empty bathroom. It's after 1 a.m. Yeah. Where, there's nobody else in there.
What building was this?
They call it the Curriculum Development Building. It's a kind of a new building at that time. But what can I do? I'm standing there, in a rather awkward position there, and I don't want to stop what's going on because it feels so good. And so what I do is I just naturally turned around and went, do you mind? Okay, dude, you're crowding me, whoever you are. Yeah. And as soon as I said that, I heard on the tile floor footsteps walking away from me. Now, either they walked away because they were like, oh, yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to intrude, or B, they were embarrassed, or they were ashamed, and, or maybe made them feel inadequate. I don't know
yet. Jackie, you were saying something right now about going into an investigation blind. What was it that you were...
my point of view on this is like every time I go into a place, we know the overall, like what kind of building it is, but my mind is always blank, thinking I'm gonna prove there is nothing in here. That's always me. I'm gonna get in there and I was like, there is nothing in here. Like, no, because that doesn't exist. Mm-hmm. And then when we do, all the investigation and Ramiro show us, what we cut or what we, because we not all the time you get something. Yeah. Like, contrary to the thinking that you are going to find every, 10, 20, 30 things that are bad or whatever we can, prove on an investigation, that's not how it happens. And, maybe out of 80, 90 hours of video that Ramiro has to go through and get things out, you can come out with 3 or 5 things, at the most, just per se a number. But in my experience, I go there saying, I'm going to prove there is nothing here. Yeah. And sometimes, I came out, I just shoot my own words because I found things that I cannot explain. And
those things that you uncover, do they tend to match with what Ramiro has experienced in the past before?
Pretty much, because when we finish and then we talk about what happened, then Ramiro like always comes out with the history and everything, and most of the time it comes, match whatever he has investigated prior to.
I was gonna ask you guys, Did you have a question?
Yeah, actually,
All
well,
right,
I was asking about what your theories were, because I kind of have a theory, or I just kind of think of it in a certain way, that like everything has a frequency, everything, right? It's just like metal detectors can go through metal and see things on the other side. It's not like it's actually physically seeing through it, but it's the frequency that it's going through the material to see. I kind of think of that the same way as the spirit world. The more people that are in a certain area that have the same kind of mindset or the same frequency, everybody's thinking the same thing, it kind of opens that doorway, I guess, to let the spirits kind of feel that frequency. Does that make sense?
I've worked with
because it's almost like when you're thinking of somebody and then they call you and you're like, how did that happen? You know,
Yeah,
like you're both thinking the same thing.
Yeah, that only happens with me when I owe them money. That's
right. The bill collector.
No, I think what you're talking about is something I think we've all experienced as time has gone on. I worked with a medium for numerous years, and in the metaphysical world, man, I tell you what, there is just so much there to learn. And somebody like me, you know, there's absolutely no way I could learn that. But the few things that I did pick up from her, she taught me, was that, in her opinion, everything operates at a different frequency, at a different vibrational level. I guess is the best way.
I think there was an article I read recently that says that they're starting to realize that that's more true than yeah.
So it's kind of like harmonics, or even you know when you could be broadcasting here, and there's a feedback going on, but you're not going to hear it, but your equipment does. Yeah, and you won't hear it. You don't hear it until after you're playing it back, right? Similar principle here. You know, so what happens is that when you first start off in this field, you really don't experience much. Okay, so many people they're like, this is what I expected it to be. And you ask Tony and Jackie, I'm sure they'll confirm that when they first started doing investigations, they really, like Tony said earlier, he was not, he was somewhat disappointed because he was expecting something to happen, right, Tony?
Yeah.
And Jackie, when Jackie was there, I mean, her experiences, what transpired with her, but before that happened, it was again same thing. She went in there going, well, I'm not going to experience anything. But as time goes on, I think subconsciously you start becoming attuned to those frequencies. Your body starts becoming more open. Not sensitive or gifted, but more open to those type of things. Yeah. And I consider myself the least gifted person here, the least sensitive type individual. Okay. And like when my wife says, when that she wants to Netflix and chill, I turn on the TV and then I go home to I go to bed because she wants to watch TV by herself.
Making some popcorn.
Yeah. No, and then she's mad at me the next day, and I'm like, what? Yeah. So the bottom line is that we're all when you do this, if you're doing this long enough, and the more exposure you get, the more attuned you become. And I'm going to use Jackie as an example. Jackie, when she first started off, she had a couple of experiences, but as she's had more exposure to this, she's now, I'm starting to see more and more of her tuning in to whatever's there. If that makes sense.
Yeah, because I don't like to think of like it's a soul that's trapped here, like between worlds, and it can't go. Like that just seems very sad to me. I'd like to think more of like an event happened in a certain room, and by everybody kind of being on that same kind of frequency and they're reviewing an event that happened in the past.
Well, one of the things again
is it like a footprint?
Maybe the wall, like it was such a graphic event or such a tragic event that just the room, the ambience of the place kind of captures that. And when you put yourself in the same kind of mindset, you're able to see that or feel it at least.
Because I was going to ask you on like footprints and stuff, like, how they talk about, what is it? The Civil War battle, is it Gettysburg or they always talk about like that battlefield is like,
super haunted?
Yeah, super haunted. They go out there and they feel like, oh man. Do you think there's like footprints that are left behind possibly, or,
That's residual energy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know these things.
Well,
sorry.
There you see on TV quite a bit, what they talk about. But the reality is that to kind of make it into a smaller or better comparison, one of the things, again, working with a medium, is that she defines them for simplicity as into different categories. Number one, she calls them, as most people use the term, ghosts. And those are the energies of people, she says, who have passed on haven't moved on to the light yet, either because they don't realize that something has happened, that they've left the physical plane, or B, they want some, they still feel like they've left something behind or unfinished, so they want to make sure it gets finished. Then you got what she considers the spirits, and those are the ones who have moved on to the light, and in doing so can now move freely back and forth. And in cases like that we've encountered, it's been usually in situations where the client, the family, has been undergoing a lot of stress and trauma. So in the medium's interpretation, she says that they're coming back to reassure the family that it's okay. And usually there's a lot of guilt associated with those type of cases as well because of something that happened. And then you have those energies that go negative. And those are the ones that have deliberately turned their back to the light, and in doing so have become darker. Now, then the fourth term is residual. And what that means is that it's a memory emplacement. And what that means is that the emotional trauma was so strong, or the emotional impact was such nature that it became embedded into the environment, and that continues to play over and over.
Right.
Yeah?
I said I was right. Just kidding.
It continues to play over and over and over. And many people use different terms for it. Footprints. Some people use other terms. So, but for simplicity's sake, that's what we use. We go with what she. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to hit the mic there. Or was that a knock? I'm not sure. Yeah, I saw their eyebrows raised over there. So that for simplicity's sake, and when we talk to clients, that's kind of what I use to have them get a better grasp of this, because it's easy to sit there and say it's a ghost.
Yeah.
Then what's that going to do to them? It's going to make them either more fearful or just again validate what they think is going on there. And it's pretty amazing that what she defined and what we use and has been validated by what we've documented over and over again.
Yeah.
If that makes sense?
No, yeah, it does. I don't know. I just don't like to think of just a soul just trapped. You know what I mean? It's just like you're already passed on, pass on,
Well, you know what? And one of the things when we did the Horizon Fire Department, remember that, Jackie?
Yes, very well.
You remember that, Tony?
Yeah.
We split up the team. We did for Horizon. They called us in there because they were wanting to know, okay, we have a second floor weight room. We hear a lot of noises in there. We hear like weights being dropped in there. But every time we go there, nothing's moved. So we went in there and we split the team up. 3 women, 3 guys. We investigated the station separately. Did the guys get much? Very little. Did the women get?
We got crazy.
We got crazy.
There was
those women love those firemen.
In the weight room, there was Jackie and Emily, our other investigator. It was 3 women. Only 2 women were affected by it, Jackie and Emily. But the emotional, I guess the feeling?
Breakdown, drain.
But what did you feel at that moment?
Well, when I suddenly started feeling like I was sad, like extremely sad, and then I was even sobbing and not doing what to do because I felt embarrassed with my fellow, investigators. Then I look at Emily and I said, like, Emily, I just feel like I want to cry. And she's like, well, I'm feeling that sadness inside of me too. And then out of the blue, I start crying. I had to get out of the weight room, and I kept crying the whole aisle. Then I had to stop and sit at the stairs, and I kept crying. And I couldn't stop myself. Like, it was something I couldn't control. I am not a crying person. Like, I don't cry for anything. Like, I am super, like, I don't cry, not even when I am sad. Like, I don't cry. Well, that moment, I couldn't stop crying.
I was going to ask you, did you go into the investigation with anything on your mind? Any, I mean... No, actually, the only... And then, you know what? The part of the building that you will never even think to get sad and cry is the gym. Like, why are you going to be sad and be at the gym and crying? Like, my state of mind is always being very clear, because I don't, I don't
have like ups and downs on my life. I have a pretty solid life.
Yeah.
So it wasn't not like my personal. But then Ramiro caught that like on the cameras. If you want to explain what you caught, Ramiro.
Yeah,
Yep.
well, we're catching something right now. I don't know what it is.
I was gonna say, ooh, it's a,
Yeah. As you were talking, I was like, what's going on back there? There we go. Okay, so Ramiro, well, Peter, good job, Peter. Way to interrupt. But anyways,
so what happened there is that unknown to them, I wasn't until after I went back and reviewed the video, but shortly after they had that overwhelming emotional moment of sadness. I mean, and like I said, on the cameras you can see Jackie going on the hallway, and it was really affecting her.
yeah,
It wasn't until afterwards that I told him that there was a voice that was recorded. It was a female voice that was recorded that said, "Save them." Okay, almost like a plea for help. Okay, what they didn't know was that 11 years prior to that investigation, somebody had recorded a voice in the old fire station, which was right next to the new fire station. They built the fire stations right next to each other, right?
Okay.
So the old fire station no longer exists there. But in that old fire station, 11 years prior to the investigation, somebody had recorded a woman's voice saying, "Help me." So we suspect that that voice that said "save them" is responding to this call for help from 11 years ago.
yeah,
And it was such a emotional trauma for whoever's saying that or asking for help that it physically affected Emily and Jackie. Whereas us guys, Tony and I, we walked through there, the building, and what happened, Tony?
Well, nothing. But,
nothing.
Not a thing. But I will tell you this: if you remember, Ramiro, when me and you were walking down the administration hall,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
we started hearing voices,
Oh, yeah.
and yet the cameras didn't pick up a thing. And that was kind of strange because we got cameras with us. We're videotaping everything, and yet when we played the back the tape, no voices were heard. And we heard them as clear as day. Women and me were like, "Did you hear that? Did you hear that?"
yeah.
Multiple times. And the cameras never picked up a thing.
What was okay? So you said there was an older fire station before the new one that they built, right?
Correct, uh-huh.
But what was there before?
Before that fire station?
Yeah,
It was just land.
just land.
Mm-hmm.
And this was out in Horizon?
Yep.
Because, okay, so I was thinking, I've heard stories, and Ramiro, you're a man of history. Well, you know a lot more than us, but I've heard stories that out there in Horizon, they've uncovered a lot of bodies, right? Am I right or no?
Are we talking recent bodies or something historical?
No, they've recovered like bodies that supposedly, the story is, I don't know how true it is, but the story is that they kill people and they go out and bury them in the desert. Could it possibly be that, or I don't know?
I've never heard of that.
You've never heard stories?
I know.
I hear stories like that all the time.
I know Juarez. They do. I mean, they've gone through that, but I've never heard, especially not in Horizon. I don't recall.
That's part of the culture and the lore that no matter where you go, that's always going to be there. There's a story that pops up. Maybe somebody decided to tell a scary story while they were there one night and try to scare their friends, whatever. And it kind of starts off like any school in El Paso.
Yeah.
If you were to listen to the stories, every school in El Paso is haunted.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, part of our job is to go in there and try to sort fact from fiction.
Yeah.
Is what's happening here based on fact, or is it fiction? Because sometimes the fiction doesn't match up with the facts. You see, so we try to get the story straight, sort them out.
Yeah.
But as what you were asking earlier, you were saying that if we go to a place knowing, what has been seen, what has happened in the place or not, the thing is, even if we do know what it is, as an example, if you say that the glasses in against the wall fly off, at midnight, you tell us that, we come and investigate, but we don't focus on that. Could it be something upstairs? Could it be something hidden when the air conditioner turns on? Maybe. I mean, we'll keep an eye on it, but we don't concentrate that. What about the rest of the house?
Yeah.
You know, even if we know there was a body buried on the parking lot, and now you're having experiences inside the house, okay, but what else is there? What else is causing that couch to move, the rocking chair to rock? We don't. Oh well, you told us it was because of you know. No,
I get that.
No, we.
All right, so here we go. I'm gonna, since Peter came in studio, I'm gonna now bring up my experience that I had. So this is going back to Messia. I told you guys what I experienced where there was a whisper.
Mm-hmm.
These guys don't believe me, but the person I was with, she definitely heard it. Couple of weeks after that, or a week or two after that, we went to go to the Double Eagle, and we were just gonna have some drinks. I got a beer. Yadira got a margarita, and we were just like in full tourist mood and we're just like, hey, we want to, because we've heard the story of the chair that's there at the Double Eagle, and we're like, dude, let's ask him. Let's ask our waiter, hey, can we see the chair? And the guy was super nice. He was like, yeah, man, let me just like handle this table over here. We'll take you to the room. And so sure enough, the guy takes us to the room. We go across the restaurant, takes us to the room, gives us a little brief history of why this room, like what's the story behind this room, as well as the two chairs that they have there. And when I went in, immediately, again, I don't believe this stuff, but I'm a chicken. So like I was there at the doorway. I was like, the hell with this. Like, I mean, it's one thing not to believe, but it's another to try and provoke. Like, you know, like I am not one to be like, I don't believe you guys, come on, like, you know. So I was just like, I'm cool right here. Yadira, on the other hand, she like went around the room. She was taking pictures, selfies, video, and everything. And I was just like, you better not touch that chair, because like they say, even if you touch the chair, you'll like get nightmares or whatever. So I was kind of like, oh man. But I went in a little bit deeper, and then I was like, okay, I'm gonna take my video, because I'm like, I want to at least say I was here. Remember, you're never there unless you like have a selfie or some kind of video to prove it, right? So I
thought the bar tab would be more than enough.
Yeah. So
Yep, scary.
So then I got my phone and I panned from left to right in the room, just so I can get like the whole room. It's about a 13-second clip, and I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything, and I was just like, this is a cool room, whatever. Put it on my Instagram story, and that was that. And I was like, yeah, like, oh, we're here hunting ghosts, and that was it. Well, later on, when I replayed my Instagram story, I hear like this thing that's like, I don't know. I don't want to influence you guys. I already showed Ramiro, but he wasn't too impressed. But
can we pull up the clip?
Whoa.
You need more than that to impress Ramiro.
Yeah, I know. So here we go. All right, so that's the room, but at the very beginning of the video, I heard that little
Hello.
It sounds like hello or help or something.
Mm-hmm.
But these guys were saying, they were giving me a hard time because I brought it to them and we talked about it on the show. And Anthony and Pat, they were saying like, oh, come on, dude. Like, you could hear plates crashing in the background. You can hear all this stuff. And they're like, it's just someone asking for help, like a waiter or a busser or whatever. And I'm like, dude, I've worked in like a Village Inn, and I've never heard someone go, help, like trying to like, you know, like, and they're like, come on, dude. And so we had this conversation, but I was just like, all right, there's the video. I think it sounds totally separate from the background noise. These guys were saying, no, it's connected with the background noise. Ramiro already gave me his opinion of the video. What do you two think?
Well, first of all, now if I had heard that when we've done our investigation at midnight or whenever they close, I wouldn't be like, well, I don't know, it's too noisy in there. But there's a lot of noise.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people talking, and like you said, you can hear dishes and things like that. But at 1, 2 in the morning and you hear that, now that's a different story.
Yeah.
But for that right there, I would, I don't think so.
It's too compromised. Like,
Yeah,
you
too much
cannot
noise.
separate those. Yeah.
Yeah.
The pitch, I know what you
Yeah.
said, because
Heard
the
it right
pitch
away.
is really like it stands up.
Yeah.
And someone yelling that should be close to you to get into that pitch voice, like really close. And obviously you were not close with anyone right there, but the noise that is on the background just, like eliminates everything that you could really hear. Because it's not possible to set them apart.
Yeah.
And one thing I stress is context. Okay, what was going on? What was the environment? What was surroundings when that happened?
Yeah.
If you were in there, like Tony said, if you were in there by yourself and there's nobody else in the building, then yes. But you're next to a kitchen, you're next to waitresses coming in and out of those doors. And you're talking to somebody who's investigated that place 9 times in the last 12 years.
Yeah.
So I know the patterns, the habits, things like that. So yeah, the context is what I look for. The context clues. If you're in a busy place and you record something like that, I'm gonna go, sorry, there's just too many variables there.
Yeah.
But again, so yeah, I heard the hello, but I've also heard the hello when I've been there during the day when it's busy.
Yeah.
And I've also, heard other voices when there's nobody there.
So, again, like, when you see that, like, do you automatically say, like, well, because it happened during the day, you're just like, okay, couldn't have, it means nothing, guys. Or could you at least throw me a bone and say, like, hey, you got something there, Abel. That's kind of cool. Like, it's cool. It's a cool sound.
Yeah, you spend money there, Abel. That's cool.
You got a clear video.
There you go.
Clear video.
There you go.
Do you think the environment plays
Whoa.
a part? Sorry, I don't know
All
how
right.
loud I am. I can't hear. But
Hello.
first of all, I'm Peter. Sorry.
Hello, Peter.
Hi,
All
Peter.
right, Peter. You know what? Let's throw this mic away, and then Peter just uses ours.
It doesn't work.
Like, well,
It's
it just
too loud.
sounds like
It's poppy.
doesn't sound good at all.
Just if you keep going, I can fix it.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll talk softer. First of all, sorry for being late. I was actually looking forward to being here for the whole show.
I hope you brought the barbacoa.
I know, right?
Voila.
I wish.
There we go.
I wouldn't have come back if it was about.
That's right.
But
Okay, no roller girls and I'm no barbacoa.
I know.
Let's go, Ramiro.
Vámonos.
Vámonos.
But what I was gonna say was the way Abel filmed that room, automatically your mind goes somewhere, right? Like it has that eerie feeling, right? Because it's historical, obviously. So is that a thing you see that people's minds kind of play with them, or they always think they capture something? Like if you're in a cemetery and you see a mist, it could be a shadow from a tree, but automatically they assume it's this mist. Their minds play a part with their environment, would you say, and that's why a lot of this is debunked, or do you think it's just?
Well, again, like I just mentioned, now had you shown me that with at 2 in the morning where nobody is around, I don't think we'd be questioning it right now, really.
Yeah.
And even then, I mean, we've been there at 2, 3 in the morning, and there's noises that we hear, and guess what? There's cars coming by.
Yeah.
So we've been to where was that one, Ramiro, where we had a crashing noise, and everybody ran to the kitchen. There was all those.
That was that museum in Oklahoma.
Oh, in Oklahoma. Oh, that's right. Yeah, and nobody's around, and
Yeah.
it's dark. And we're investigating, and here comes this crash. What? And we start running, and all there was those the little for dips or for salsas or whatever that fell on the ground. I mean, nobody was around,
Yeah.
but yay.
All right.
It's because to piggyback on that, the reason I say is people see like an old house, or they walk by, anything that resembles old or that environment,
Sure.
and automatically they say, oh, that's got to be haunted. But I mean, anything could be, there could be paranormal experiences in a modern place, but you don't hear it as often in like a modern neighborhood per se. I mean, unless it's, I know you guys were kind of talking. I came in late, so I probably missed a lot.
Yeah, but with that, we did an investigation on the west side, where the homeowners had told us, well, we hear these noises and we see a shadow coming, through this side of the house and going to the other side of the house.
You remember that one, Jackie, right?
Yes.
The doctor's house.
The doctor's house.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Very modern house.
very modern house. Yeah, they had just built it.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, before that, it was nothing but farming. It was a farming community.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, I'm sorry. Were you talking about the one on the west side one?
the west side where they built a new house on the.
Oh yeah, I'm sorry. No, you
Oh,
weren't there,
another
Jackie.
one.
I'm
Okay.
sorry. I stand corrected.
On the field.
Well, we did another one.
Okay,
in
skip the
west
doctor's
That-
house.
It was another. Yeah, that was another
Wrong
one.
house. Okay.
That was the wrong address. Yeah, so I mean, with that, what I was mentioning there is that they built that house on farming land.
Mm-hmm.
So was it on a Indian burial? Was it just farming land? I mean, what was it? What was causing that? And again, I mean, throughout the investigation, and this is when we do the investigation, this is the part that I like, because Ramiro's knees, they make weird noises when he walks. So we're investigating. And
That's without corduroy pants.
there goes a cracking, and not only him, but all of us. All of us. We're like, that was me bumping into the wall.
Yeah.
That was me walking. That was me rearranging. Because we make noises.
Yeah, yeah.
But it's good because when he's going through the videos, and you hear that noise, but it was me. Okay, debunk that.
Yeah.
But when it's dead silence, and you hear motion and steps and all that. Whoa.
So
what happened there?
That was my stomach
I think,
growling.
That's exactly what
And
we
we
do.
say it.
Yeah.
When we're
That's-
investigating and we have the cameras. Usually we have, mobile cameras. We have, cameras just standing. We have body cameras.
Our new toys.
So just imagine the camera right here and then my stomach.
Yeah.
That will be a demon, right?
Yeah.
So, no.
El demon de Chicos Tacos.
I know. We have to
Barbacoa.
say it. Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have answered this earlier, but do you guys get some kind of, I think I asked Ramiro last time, do you get a sense of when you go into a place, you kind of sense something like, I extend it to all of you guys.
Yeah,
do you get a sense like
I
there's
don't-
something wrong here?
Yeah, I don't.
I do.
The only time that I've actually experienced that was in Oklahoma when we did the museum. And that was because Ramiro had, we were in groups, and he was further ahead, and he called me over, go, Tony, come over here. And I walked over, and he said, turn around and look at that over there. And I turned around, and he says, what do you feel? Well, he said, go put your arms like that. Yeah. And I'm still looking that way. He goes, well, what do you feel? Now, mind you, the museum, they could turn off the air conditioners. It was hot. The museum was hot. I mean, the stuffed animals were sweating and stuff. But he says, turn around and look at that, see that? Yeah, I go, yeah. But, and go like this. What do you see? And I'm thinking, what's this guy going to do? Man, he's going to poke me on the ribs or something, And I'm doing this, and he goes, what do you feel? I go, man. And then all of a sudden, all my back, from head to toe, it was like if I had just walked in, backwards on a freezer. The whole back, not the front, but the back was frozen. I mean, it was super cold. And he goes, turn around, and I turned around. There's this a mannequin or something with a KKK original uniform. I'm like, what the? And I had never experienced that.
Yeah. We were in that part of Oklahoma.
Yeah, Mexico.
Yeah.
Never mind.
That's all of Oklahoma, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
For me, it started like nothing. Like at the beginning, that's what Ramiro was saying earlier, that
Yeah.
I actually like what we were saying about opening your senses to something when you know that you want to find or see something that you open yourself for.
Right.
So that's has been really happening to me lately. Like as soon as I step into some places, I can feel the energy changing, or the energy of like sadness, or like uneasy, very uneasy in some ways. But that happens through the time. Like,
did you feel anything walking in today?
Well, no, actually, I just saw you coming here like late.
Oh, she called me out.
Busted.
La energía está muy poderoso aquí.
I was trying to be all
No,
silent.
but
I forgot the curtain was
I
all
was like,
tied up.
ooh.
No, it's when you crawled in on your hands and knees. I kind of gave it away.
I just like popped up behind you.
we were thinking when you were opening the curtain, we were saying, "Oh, you see."
Okay, this sounds like a dumb question, but why do you guys do the investigations? I mean, it's one thing that you guys do them at night, like at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, but why do you guys do them in the dark? Like, you would think that, I mean, me, if I'm going to investigate something, I want to see stuff. Why do you guys do it in the dark where I know you have like night vision cameras, but wouldn't the best picture to get would be during the day? Or I mean, with light out?
Well, one of the theories in the field is that, and it's been proven over the years, is, I'm moving away from this guy. One of the things is that the theory is that whatever these energies are, as we refer to them, tend to exist in the spectrum of light that we normally cannot see, which is ranging from the ultraviolet to the infrared. Now, if you're lucky, you can sometimes see it in broad daylight. And all too often we're influenced by what we see on TV. Okay, number one. So in reality, people take pictures and they mistake something for something totally different. So, we use these specialized equipment ranging from the infrared that captures the infrared spectrum of light to the ultraviolet. Number two, we do it at night simply for the fact that it's quieter. There's less noise contamination coming in from the outside, and also because in the dark, our normal senses are enhanced. So your body, and I tell people, your body is the best barometer. They have all these fancy gadgets out there that you can buy and yada, yada, yada. But the reality is your body is the best barometer. When you're standing there and all of a sudden you feel somebody standing behind you, but there's nobody there. And all of a sudden you look and you see the arm standing straight up, and you got the goosebumps. It's a more common technical term that we use that's called the heebie-jeebies. But there's no visible cause. Then, again, and your instrument, and it's not unusual, many people have fallen into this conception or perception that, I got all this fancy gear. I've got these meters, and I've got this, and I've got that. They should tell me when something's there. Not true all the time. Oftentimes, we'll get a reaction, and nothing happens on the meters. Nothing happens on our devices. Again, so in the dark, senses are enhanced, less noise contamination. We use infrared and ultraviolet because that's the best time they work. Does that help?
Yeah, no, it does.
Do you have a dream place, like the place you want to investigate? Is there like one place like the pyramids, or just something like just far out there?
Alcatraz.
Penn State.
Yeah.
Tony?
London, the castles.
Ooh.
Castles.
I
would love to go to a castle.
Wow.
Dracula's castle would be even better.
Do you feel like those older places have more, more paranormal activity because of how old they are?
History.
I think it's more of the what has transpired. It's not necessarily the history, but what has when I say history, I'm talking about historical, when it was constructed, yada yada yada. I'm talking about what has transpired there. Mm-hmm. Some of the places we found tend to have a lot of more stuff going on. Is typically jails. I've investigated a couple of old hospitals. Hospitals are second on my list. Third would be museums. And we also investigated an antique store not too long ago, right, guys?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting because, many people, they're kind of like, well, do I really want to buy this stuff? Do I know what's coming in? And I've investigated places where people have bought stuff from antique stores, or they collect them, and all of a sudden they start having these things going on.
Oh, wow.
So that would probably be about my fourth or fifth on the list. So it's not so much the historical architecture, but more of what transpired there. And it doesn't have to be negative. See, that's another thing I like to clear up with people is oftentimes we'll show up, we're talking to them, oh, I heard there's a body buried here, or somebody got killed, or this or that, something traumatic. Yeah. But the reality is that it could be a plain old building. Nothing like that has ever happened, but yet it's active beyond belief.
Do you believe, I mean, I'm just curious, what do you guys believe is happening? Like my kind of belief on when people have paranormal experiences is that it's the repetition that was taking place. So you said jails. Well, there's only so much you could do in a jail, right? You're in your cell, you go to a yard, you're walking the same hallways consistently for years on end. And some of those places have more activity because it's just the repetition.
That was me.
And is that what you think, or what's your belief on what's going on with paranormal activity? I think last time, Ramiro, we talked about like parallel universes overlapping or stuff like that. What are your beliefs going on?
Well, like in regards to the jail aspect, my thinking is like all the mental state of the people that is there. It's not about like, they just walk to the yard and back to the cell. So, but the mental states that they actually have, any states there, that's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah, same here. I mean, they're in prison for a reason. I mean, could have been murder, could have been arson, whatever the reason was.
I swear to God, Tony, it was just a parking ticket for me, man.
That's what you said. And still they're humans. That they did what they did. Maybe their souls are still trying to, be sorry for what they did. Mm-hmm. And they're there. They want to, say something to somebody. Maybe give a message. I'm sorry for what I did. I don't know. It wasn't me that did the murder. It was that other person, and I took whatever it is. Something. Same thing with a hospital or even car accidents that people are driving home to a birthday party, and they passed away in a car accident. Yeah. The trauma on a human body, on a human person, that stops like that in a
sudden.
something.
Yeah. So. Okay, you talked about Alcatraz. You also talked about going to London and visiting some of the castles, but you said Penn State.
Mm-hmm. The penitentiary that is like the huge, and it's abandoned.
Oh, I thought you meant the university. I was like, wait, what happened at Penn State? I mean,
they're a football team.
Yeah, their football team. A lot of bad things happened there, but I was like, oh wait, are you onto something like?
Yeah.
No,
okay. Penitentiary.
Oh, okay. No.
It's abandoned.
Yeah, one of the things that been in my experience, because I've been doing this longer than they have, so I've had the unique opportunities of being investigating jails, hospitals, things like that. Is that one and places where basically they held bad people, is that the emotional energy stays behind, and over time, it feeds upon itself, but it grows. Okay, so think about Doña Ana County Jail. Many people don't understand or don't realize or may not be aware, but on the third floor, when they first built that building and then they added the jail section to it, the third floor was known as the insane room. So back then, treatment for people who had mental health issues weren't the same as they are now. So they would stick them in this room. Like, okay, we don't know what else to do with them. So there you go. There was an article in 1966, I think, if I remember correctly, from a Las Cruces reporter who went up there to write an article about what are the issues going on here? What kind of medical issues do they have? And at that time, what they did is to keep the patients calm with mental health issues, the prisoners, they had separate rooms. They were painted black with no windows, and they would put them in there, no light. Because the thought was, okay, that'll calm them down. Well, think about it. If you were already angry or you have something going on with you and they put you in a room with no lights and no windows and it's completely dark, what do you think it's going to do to your mental state? So they also had at one time things like isolation tanks up there too. They thought the same theory was, okay, well, that'll help to keep them quiet. does the opposite effect. They had riots there, you know. So think of all that transpired there, and all the people that were there, that truly bad people.
Yeah. I've heard like these soundproof rooms and like you said, pitch dark rooms, soundproof rooms, and they said that like a human can't stay in there for more than so and so amount of time because they like something takes over them. Like it's I don't know what it is, but have you guys heard that? Like when they isolate someone in a soundproof room?
Yeah, I've heard that many times. It's worse. Something clicks up there that you know, it makes them worse.
Makes them lose their minds.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? That actually has his literary history there. When you talk about that,
Okay.
How many of you read Edgar Allan Poe?
Yeah.
Okay, when he what is the name of that one? The story of where he killed somebody and he took their heart and buried it.
Oh,
Oh, I know which one you're talking about.
Telltale. Yeah.
A Telltale Heart. Yeah. So many people now, you know, some literary experts now believe that he was writing about the guy's guilt, but his mental state was exaggerating, you know, everything that he would hear. But in reality, he was hearing his own heartbeat. That's what eventually drove him insane. In these soundproof rooms, 90% of the people who they put in there as test subjects, you know, to see what their reactions are, they get out, and they said that their beating of their own heart is what drove them out. So think about that.
Yeah.
There was
That's
a
pretty
Twilight
crazy.
Zone episode about that.
Was there?
Yeah.
All right.
And there's our TV literary expert over there.
No, that's crazy. Ah, Peter, you're like breathing on my shoulder. I keep on hearing these
Your
whispers.
butt's touching my butt.
Well, no, I just see the wizards behind the curtain over there passing notes, and I'm wondering, do I need to powder my nose here? What's the deal?
Yeah. Yeah, what's going on over there, guys?
I think I moved it.
Yeah, no, we're good.
I was gonna ask, can we take a break and then we come back and then we kind of close up with just some like faster questions?
Yeah, wait.
No,
You're the host of the show. You two.
No,
tell
it's
me,
because
man.
the reason is one, I need to take a piss, and yeah. So, are you guys cool with that? You guys got time for like maybe taking a break and then coming back and then?
Okay, are you
closing
asking us for permission here, or
No, I'm
you want us to
just-
walk you to the bathroom? I'm not
No,
sure.
no, I just want to make sure we have enough time here.
Yeah, no, we're fine. We don't have to be at NMSU till 7 o'clock tonight.
Okay, so that was the thing. When we come back, I'm gonna ask you on some of your upcoming investigations and some of the ones that you guys just did not too long ago.
Bonus
Okay.
round, guys.
All right.
Right?
All right.
All right. Here we go.
Okay.
We're gonna take a break. All right, guys, we're back from my little restroom break, but I had to go, guys. Like, I really had to go. That's where I'm gonna lead off with. When you guys are doing an investigation,
Okay,
I know this
is that a really good segue?
no, I know this is a silly question, but
A designated
I'm kind of
restroom.
serious. Like, when you guys are doing an investigation, can you use the restroom? I know you talked about like Ramiro talked about like going down that hallway when that lady had mentioned there was a demon. You don't want to go that way, but Ramiro's like, I kind of need to use the restroom. How often does that happen when you guys are doing an investigation?
No, it happens, but I mean, well, for me, if I heard that if I'm gonna go into that restroom and they seen somebody in there, I go to that one. You know,
Yeah.
I want to make sure debunk. I want to
Yeah.
see or not. You know, but no, it doesn't. Well, at least up to now, it hasn't affected me.
Or,
Yeah.
or
Not
somebody
go
to
to that
pass the
same
toilet
Yeah.
paper.
No, it's like we try to do it before.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
before we start, you know, anyone's going to
Yeah.
the bathroom before we start, and then
Yeah.
while you are there, you really forget about it.
Yeah, because I was thinking like, how long's a investigation normally take?
Depends on the circumstances. It can be as little as 2 hours,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what's going on there. It can be 4 hours, 6 hours.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, there's been investigations that I've gone to where I've slept the night there.
Yeah, the longest I've done an investigation was the first investigation in Deming. We started at 7. We got home at about 5 in the morning. Wow. But we did the county courthouse plus the jail.
Yeah.
We had to run wires back and forth, four floors on the county courthouse. I mean, that was a big investigation. but it took a lot too. I
Yeah.
mean, from 7 p.m. to about 5 in the morning. It was, shoo.
And Jackie, what's your longest one?
I think it was like 7 hours. Maybe the Paso Community College, if I recall. I think that's the one that I.
We did the entire building?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
That one, we invite my daughter.
Yeah.
That one, yeah.
So I was actually going to ask you guys, because I know a few weeks ago you guys actually did El Paso Community College, right? They're on, is it Rio Grande? The Rio Grande campus?
Right.
Can you guys talk about, if not this past investigation, but some of the stuff you guys have seen there in previous investigations?
Well, before I start there, we were talking about stories and history and all this good stuff. There's always been stories about that campus, also along with a couple of other campuses from EPCC. The question question back then was is this just a story, urban legend, that was made up along the way and it just kind of grew from there? Or was there some sort of historical context? So when they first contacted me to help them with their tours, there was some quick research that were done, and what I found really surprised me. So as time has gone on, we've heard other stories, and it seems like some of the historical data tends to support some of those stories. And some of those stories or what we've documented tend to support those stories as well, if that makes sense. So like, for example, the history of the woman allegedly who was pushed down the stairs in the old Queen Anne building where the campus cops, use as their office. We've documented screams in there. We've documented voices in there. We've documented a dark shadow in there. That place is kind of a little bit of a smorgasbord of everything there. Yep. The main building, they have a story about one particular classroom, and people have said they've heard voices there. They felt sometimes unease, and that night that we went, we not only experienced it, but also some of the EPCC staff who've never done this before, who went with us, also experienced something similar. So, there's historical data to support their stories. And one of the things I tell people on the tour is, if you look up, you'll find a newspaper article that I think it was the 1930s, El Paso City Council condemned a building because of neighbors reported as being haunted. And that is the only building in historical records or city records that I could find that show that's the only building ever condemned for that reason. And it was torn down. Well, guess where the building was at? Right smack dab where the new parking lot is at their building.
Oh, really?
That's crazy. When kind of piggyback on that investigation, maybe others, is there some investigations where you take a psychic or a medium to kind of enhance the experience, or is that just kind of something that you don't prefer using? And if so, is there who do you use?
Well, again, going back to what we were talking about earlier, I think I mentioned the first podcast. Before when I first was doing this, I really didn't believe in those people. I thought a lot of them were just a bunch of hooey because it was all general terms. Oh, I feel this here, and they had the waving of the hands, and I'm like, okay, and and it was just general terms, which anything could fit into that.
Like Whoopi Goldberg from Ghost.
Yeah, kind of like that. Well, no, she's kind of hot, so
just bad acting.
Was.
Was. Okay,
I didn't say was.
No, it wasn't me. Why are you looking at me?
Hey, that was your boy Tony over there.
What voice was that?
Yeah, every time Tony talks, I think it's a ghost because I can't see his mouth moving. So I'm just like,
it's not me.
We all heard that, right?
So so I until I met this one lady who, after one case, just what she told us, what we documented, corroborated and validated her findings, which was amazing for me because it just blew my socks off at that time. And then after that, I worked several years with her on numerous cases. This is the one I mentioned earlier where we could do a phone call with her, she wouldn't know where we were at, and she could tell us what was going on in this place without us even telling her. So over time, she moved on to another career. So since then, I've been without somebody like that, but I do find that there are people who are sensitive. And then in one of my classes, I met Emily, who's not here with us today, but she's one of our other investigators. And after I think it was the first or second investigation, I recognized, like I said, when you work with somebody who's gifted like that, you see certain traits. And Emily started displaying these traits, and it turned out that she was gifted. Empathic, meaning she could feel what was the emotions of the moment. And now she's been progressing now to where she now picks up if somebody is there in the room with you that we can't see.
When you say she feels it, does it affect her mood?
It can affect her, and I'll give you an example. So when we did an investigation, I mentioned this earlier on the podcast at the Horizon Fire Department a couple of years ago. Jackie and Emily were teamed up with another lady. The third lady felt absolutely nothing, but both Jackie and Emily both felt this overwhelming emotional level of sadness. That's so much so that Jackie had to leave because it just overtook her for a while. Emily felt the same thing, and over time, I'm finding out that Jackie here has also a certain gift of awareness. Some people would refer to as clairsentient, where you can feel what's going on.
Can you explain that feeling?
Well, it's like when you walk into, we were talking about earlier, that you walk into a room or to a place and then you can feel like the type of energy, like something had happened or something very heavy or something like out of the ordinary, that it's just like a feeling only.
Like the emotion that was in that time.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And Tony and I, well, we're guys, so we don't feel anything.
Not a thing.
I actually deny it many times. I felt this for a long time, actually since I remember, but I never pay attention to it. Like, I knew that I felt all the time these things, and I really never like it's just crazy, my mind is playing tricks with me. But now I know that it has a purpose. Like, I can use it.
Yeah. I mean, Ramiro, hearing that one of your members has this gift, how valuable is that to you going into an investigation?
Well, what it does, it helps to validate. For example, we just recently did an investigation where I deliberately broke up the teams, and I had Jackie and Tony go in first. They went and did their thing. And then I had Emily come in after they left, and she went through the same area. And so now you have, like in a laboratory, you have, a control environment, so to speak, and then you want to see what their results are. Okay. And strangely enough, Emily was able to corroborate some of the things that they experienced in there, but she had no knowledge of what they experienced, and they had no knowledge of what Emily experienced. Mm-hmm. Does it make sense? I mean, it's kind of hard to for people, sometimes for people to grasp that, because unless you've actually been there, you've actually done that.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, when you guys end an investigation and that, well, maybe they're even after the days, the weeks, and the months that you get all the data and all the recordings and all the audio, and you didn't really catch anything or see anything, but are there times when you're like, no, that was a hell of an investigation, despite the fact that we didn't really acquire what people would call evidence, you yourself said sometimes your best meter is the way you feel. Has there ever been a time when you guys didn't acquire anything, but when you guys were there, you received a lot of
like the one we just did on the antique store? I honestly didn't feel anything. Like it was flat for me all the time, and it was all these subjects. But it was so interesting because you can see all these, tons of objects that had so much history, these weird dolls and and everything. Like when you are walking on the dark and you see all these figures, it is really like intimidating. But I didn't feel anything, and like physically, like that sense. But we catch some video, right, Ramiro? And we didn't feel anything. So
yeah, the most amazing one that we recorded from that night was we wear body cameras similar to what police wear, and they're infrared capable. They have audio, so that gives us a point of view, a first-person point of view of the investigation. So instead of having to carry a camera around and have one of your hands tied up constantly, it now gives you both hands, frees up your hands. So basically the camera is recording whatever direction you're looking at. So as I'm helping one of the other investigators put on his body cam, Jackie's already put on hers, and she steps in front of a mirror, and you can see her reaction as she's adjusting the camera to make sure everything looks good. However, later on when we reviewed it, there's a female voice that's recorded on her camera, and it's saying it directly in front of her because she's standing next to a stationary camera. Stationary camera records something that sounds like a whisper, but in her camera it's clear as day, and it says, "I'm here." Okay, but again, she didn't feel anything. I didn't feel anything. Tony?
No,
nothing.
No.
So none of us that were present felt anything out of the ordinary, but yet this voice came out of nowhere saying, "I'm here." We did another place. Have you heard of the old Sombras de Paso restaurant over there in Socorro? It's an old restaurant. The building was originally constructed in the 1500s. And so there's a long history there. And so we're sitting around a table, and again, 2 people are wearing body cameras. We've got stationary cameras everywhere. And we heard 3 of the cameras recorded what sounded like a slight whisper. The 4th camera, which was on one of the other investigators, he was wearing a body cam. He's sitting down. Clear as day, you can hear this voice said, "What's that?" But he didn't feel anything. None of us felt it. Even Emily, who's our gifted person there, didn't feel a thing, didn't sense anything. As a matter of fact, I even said, remember, Tony? Me and the other investigator said, "Hey, we just heard something. Let's go check it out." And her and Tony going, "I didn't hear anything." So that was a case where somebody who is gifted didn't feel a thing, yet 2 of us heard something, and the camera corroborated. Something else happened. So yeah, and sometimes people with gifts, they can sense it, and sometimes it just passes them by. And again, I think it goes back to that theory we talked about, the frequencies. If you're tuned into that frequency, you're going to pick up on it. But if you're not tuned into that frequency, then it's going to go right over.
Yeah.
Oh, that's where she found that weird-looking necklace.
Yep,
Oh,
exactly.
the necklace,
yeah, that's the one with Emily found. Yeah.
No,
And that was an interesting. Do you guys know the story about that?
No.
So I had been in there the week before with the owner, and we walked through the building. Everything was fine, nothing out of the ordinary. And we walked through this ruined room multiple times. And the following week I showed up and I put in a couple of cameras in there the day before. And the camera showed people walking in the following morning, the day of our investigation. He was showing around these people, he was, you could see him walking all over the place, that kind of stuff. Nothing unusual reported. We show up for the investigation and we start setting up cameras, and Emily and another investigator are in one of the rooms that was what considered heavily trafficked. That's the one where a lot of people were walking through. And as soon as that male investigator steps away, Emily looks down and finds a necklace. And she brought it to me, and I'm like, I don't know anything about it. So we texted the owner. It turned out that there had been another group that had gone there to investigate like a month before, and somebody from that group lost this necklace. And the owner said, "We tore that place apart, and we could not find it. Yet you can see it on camera. You can see them working. They were working in that same spot for 10 minutes. Nothing. The minute the guy steps away, boom, she finds this necklace. Did somebody there feel or say, "Oh yeah, you know what? She's special. Let me give it to her." But what's even odder is that all the people that were walking through that area, not a single person saw the necklace, not a single person kicked the necklace. I mean, it's metal.
And it wasn't small. It was like a
The size of $1.
yeah.
With a chain and everything.
It's
Yeah.
like my spaghetti story.
Yeah, yeah.
Peter and that
Yeah.
spaghetti. He can never let it go.
I can't. It happened for reals.
All right. Refresh our minds with that.
Well, I told Ramiro during the break.
Well, bore the audience with your spaghetti story.
No. It's cool. It's cool.
What are some of the places that you guys have investigated that we may all know, but they're like hopefully you guys can give me a separate answer. Your favorite places that you guys have investigated. We'll start with Jackie.
Doña Ana, Old County Jail. That's my favorite. I've seen so many things right there.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite.
Give us like one of the things you experienced.
Well, like per se, when you were saying like we are investigating on pitch dark.
Yeah.
So I was with another investigator. We went to the first floor. We split in teams like always. So we were on these what I call the maze. You know, one part of the county jail, you can come in through one door, and then inside is like a maze of rooms and really weird. And then you got out to the other side, the other corner. So we were there, and I had the camera, and then out of the sudden, and the camera, I saw like a shadow peeking out of like a shower.
Mm-hmm.
And then I call, it says, Alex, come and see this. And then he's like, what are you looking at? I'm like, I see like a shadow peeking out, but I can see it with my eyes, but I cannot see it on the camera.
Yeah.
And then he looked at it, and I'm like, I can see it. And then we were trying to look at the camera, and you cannot see it at the camera. And it was like playing tricks with me, like picking up out like that. And then on the insane room, Alex and I too, we were on the third floor, and then the shadow peeking out of the window is like a mirror window that they have there, the ones that you can see from the inside, but you on the outside you just see the mirror. So it was like a shadow, and then I told Ramiro like something is peeking out over there.
Yeah.
And then when Alex turned, he was like maybe 3 feet or 4 from me on my back, and then out of a sudden I felt like something came through me, like through me, that I couldn't even move. It was like an instant, and after me, Alex felt the same thing.
Yeah.
And obviously I don't have hair, but he's hairy. So all his
That hairy
hair
Alex.
was like it stood up all over.
Wow.
And then he says, so you felt the same thing I did? I'm like, yep, I did. So
So when you saw that shadowy figure, was there a part of you that said like, hey, let me again like debunk this? Maybe do you walk toward it to try and see what it could possibly
that's
be?
what we did. That we were
Okay.
walking
Yeah,
towards
because-
when that happened.
That wasn't me.
No, it was Alex.
No.
Oh,
Okay.
Sorry.
No, it's just that
Yeah.
I've done some interviews with Kiss FM online, and sometimes
Yeah.
we get these weird noises in the background, and they're going.
Well,
we didn't do it.
supposedly they say that the radio station's haunted there.
Oh,
They
yeah.
don't let anybody
We-
investigate though.
Yeah.
Really? They don't.
I thought they've had people.
They've
haven't
had
they?
people there, but you know what? The evidence that was presented it leaves a lot in question. You know, because
I remember Ronson when he was alive. They did something. He did. Ronson did
No,
something.
but I'm just thinking of that story you told me where it was like like when
yeah,
he
that was
yelled.
Ronson.
Yeah.
Ronson said he walked in and that he felt. Who knows? I mean,
anyway, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you, Jackie.
Yeah.
no, that's fine. So
No.
that's the second, and then the like we were walking towards, because Ramiro always says, look at the lights.
Yeah.
It can be a light. Well, we were on the third floor. You know, look at this like the moon, you know, towards the window, whatever. And like always, before we said it is,
You try
we
to debunk
try
it.
to do it.
yeah, of course.
Another thing, on that same floor, the three of us were there, and Alex was like maybe 10 feet away from me, and Ramiro was like 6 feet away from me. And then Ramiro and I, at the same time, we saw a black shadow running through us, like in the middle at the same time. So both of us, I was with the camera, and both of us look at each other at the same time. And then he asked me, did you see that? And then I said, yeah. And then he asked me, what did you see? And then I told him like this black, like shadow coming in the middle of us. And he's like, yeah, that's exactly what I saw.
Wow.
And you see the questions that we ask when we encounter something like that. We're with another investigator.
Yeah.
We don't automatically say, I just saw a shadow. What we do first is we ask our partner,
Yeah.
what did you see? To see if their observations correspond with what you just observed.
Like you're not influencing their
Correct.
decision.
Yeah.
That's a very good point, that we never influence each other on anything on that. So we let everybody, speak what they, and Ramiro is very good at it because he's always asking us, what do you think? What do you feel? And it's very like individual thoughts or individual opinions. And he always is open to hear everything we have to say when we investigate.
Did you always believe, or were you a skeptic?
I'm totally a skeptic.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%.
Still to this day?
Yes, because as long as I don't have an answer,
Yeah.
even though I have seen,
Yeah.
like I need to have an answer in order for me to stop being a skeptic.
Yeah.
And like he says, we don't have answers. Like
Anthony,
is
you're a
there-
skeptic too?
Yeah.
Ben,
Yeah, I would say I'm always the
Ben, you're a
logical.
skeptic? Give me a thumbs up. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting.
But again, that's what I was saying, like about the frequency. Like I think if you're so, I guess, narrow-minded, I guess, like you don't believe in anything else, I think that kind of blocks out some of those things that you might be open to. Where if you do believe, you open yourself up to experience things, I think.
Well, I think it's very interesting that someone who is an investigator is a skeptic that's like, yeah, well, if I don't know for sure, then
Yeah, it's like
you-
I told
you
you at the beginning.
Yeah,
Like
you would-
I walk into dark and I am never afraid.
Yeah.
Because what can
So-
happen to me in the dark?
So what the hell's my problem? I don't believe in any of this
terrified of the
stuff.
dark.
But you're
and
scared of
I'm-
everything.
Yeah, and I'm afraid to go to the bathroom sometimes. Like,
Okay, how much time do you have?
Tony, what about you? What is one of your most favorite places that you have investigated?
I would have to say the Doña Ana County Jail as well. And what I also like about this is that we go into places where the public they might have access to it, but maybe not as much. The county, New Mexico county jail, they do tours now, but there's certain floors they don't let you go in, or they'll do the first and the third, or not the third but the second, things like that. And when we go, it's full access. But I love that place there because there's too many. You can get lost.
Yeah.
Once the sun goes down, it is dark. It's dark. The one time that we were in that cell, had there been any cameras around me, they would have seen me with my hand, because I was trying to figure, why can't I see my hand? And I would touch my nose with it.
Yeah.
Go, I know it's in front of me, and I still couldn't see my hand. That's that dark it was. But then I would look into my infrared camera, and it's daylight. I'm like, wow, how can I? There'd be cameras. They'd be seeing me doing this and stuff. But that would be there. Not only because of what I have experienced, but because of the history on the building and what could have gone on while the inmates were in there.
So before I get to Ramiro, like, how would one, like a normal person like ourselves, like we're not investigators, how would we go, like, be able to experience what you guys experience? Because like you said, now the county is doing these tours, but they don't allow people to see certain rooms. Like, I've gone to El Paso High because they do tours there. I've gone to the McGoffin home and like the common places that we all know. But I'm
just curious, is there an association?
Yeah.
Like, or I don't know, like, because I feel like, I know you guys have your own, but is there...
Sorry, I'm throwing paranormal.
There's other paranormal investigators, obviously, and you guys work together, but do you...
Well, to hopefully answer both of your questions, when I first started in this field, really, there was no way... I'm sorry, I keep hitting this mic here.
Yeah.
There wasn't really anything out there, per se. I mean, they had a couple of paranormal groups in El Paso, and then they had the tours at Concordia Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, I started just spending money to go on these tours.
Yeah.
And then eventually I met up with another group who saw my interest in this, and so they asked me to join them and investigate, right? And I just did a presentation. There was a Las Cruces Paranormal Convention, the first ever for this area, about 2 weekends ago, and I was one of their guest speakers, and mine was about Paranormal Investigating 101. And what I told people was, or what I tell people, even when I give classes, is, it's really hard to get started in this field because the only thing you have as a tool is what you see on TV, okay, or what you see on these tours.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to know that there's a line of separation between entertainment value and what the reality is. So that's how I started. And then what happened is that after a couple of investigations with that group, I left because I felt, there was still something left there. I didn't have a lot of questions that were being answered.
Yeah.
So at that point, I decided to become an independent investigator. And what an independent investigator does is that they're not beholden to anybody, but they're called in to assist other groups. And so that's what happened. I started getting called in to assist other groups in their investigations. And over the course of years that's been going on, I learned from them, and they learned from me. It was, a two-way street. But I learned what worked for me and what didn't work for me. And along the way, I saw, okay, what's the best way of doing this? Because again, people are going by what they see on TV. And then over time, again, also built on my personal experiences, I've decided, there's a lot of information out there that's still missing for people who want to know. What is it all about? So that's when I decided to offer classes on this to kind of demystify what a paranormal investigating does, and what it actually entails to do this. Because many people, just their conception of a paranormal investigating is, okay, we're going to walk around a cemetery for 2 hours and that's it. It's more than that. And so I guess I formed P.R.I, and then along the way, I guess, knock on wood, people heard about us, and we started getting invited to more and more locations. And and one thing that we stress to, and the team also stresses, is that we're not here to prove an entertainment value for you folks. We're here to see if the stories are true or not. Okay. And often, when we come out with that kind of story, or we're not story, but when we tell them that, sometimes we'll get the door closed in our face because people don't want that. They want us to come in and make it entertaining. They want us to, prove or validate what they say is going on there. But we tell them, our job is to see whether it's true or not, to see if we can debunk it or not, or validate it or not. So some of these places that bank, and I'm not going to say the names of some places, but there are a few places in El Paso where that's where their value is in continuing to keep up these stories. And then when I've talked to these people, and when somebody like me comes along and says, you know what, if we can disprove the stories, fantastic. But if we can prove the stories, fantastic. Yeah. Well, what happens if we disprove the stories? What does that do for their entertainment value?
So that kind of goes, because I know there's, and I'm not saying this particular spot is, or they're one of the ones that are like what you're saying. But I've always wondered, why don't they investigate El Paso High? Why don't they investigate it? Everyone has their story about the high school. It is haunted. It is haunted. They do tours there. Like I said, they give you the typical tour, go down. There's tunnel, or there's this tunnel, and then, it's kind of whatever. But they never allow people to investigate it. I know the guys from Ghost Adventures try to do it.
Ask yourself a question: Is it done for historical reasons? Is it done for the true value, or is it done for entertainment?
Well, see, and that's what I'm saying. I want to know is because El Paso High has that reputation of it's the oldest school in El Paso. It's the most haunted school. It's like there's something about it. Like a lot of people that attended El Paso High, they almost like pride themselves. Like, we have the story, we have this, we have that. And I feel like if someone goes and investigates and they uncover nothing, it kind of loses its value almost, you know?
Yeah, and the alumni that does this tours, the alumni. Now, can you imagine if, let's say we go in there, and El Paso knows that we're there, and they're waiting for the results, and we didn't find nothing.
Yeah.
What's it going to do to the alumni?
Yeah, and that's why I asked that question, because
it'd be nice.
They do charge people, because I've gone. I've done the tours because I guess like Ramiro, I'm interested. I want to go and see what I can uncover, what I can see, but I'm only allowed a certain amount of access to all these places, right? I'm not a paranormal investigator. So alumni like you're talking about, and I'm not saying El Paso High does this, but they do tours and they charge people to come and take their tour. We'll take you down this little tunnel. We'll tell you this scary story. They encourage people to take pictures, and they tell the stories like, oh, there was a picture taken, and oh, this one woman found this and they uncovered that, and blah, blah, blah. And it's almost like, oh, your scary story. Like, oh, that was so cool. That was so entertaining. But they never allow anybody to investigate it. And I just feel like, like it's a shame. It's a shame that one of the most talked about places doesn't get investigated.
Yeah.
But on the flip side, you have a place like El Paso Community College.
Yeah.
That was me, by the way, hit the mic again.
Yeah.
They are transparent. They know they have things going on there. So they've invited us to go investigate multiple times. We do their tours. Mm-hmm. And if you're a non-student, they charge $5.
Yeah.
If you're a student, it's for free. But here's the difference. We've been able to go in there and actually investigate and document those stories, and we can show those stories. Mm-hmm. So when we did the last tour before everything got shut down, we were actually having the participants in one room or in a building sitting there watching what we documented there before they did the tour. Mm-hmm. You see? So for us, it's like if we went in there, we couldn't prove anything, we wouldn't be helping them do the tours. Yeah. Because then we'd feel like, okay, our credibility and our integrity is at stake. But if we're there doing that means, we found stuff. We have found it, we documented it, we validated some of the stories there, and we're willing to stake our credibility and integrity on that.
See, like one of the things that I noticed when I went on that tour, because I went on that EPCC tour before everything got shut down, and it was long. It didn't seem like there was any kind of money involved, right? It wasn't like, hey, come take our ghost tour. It's from 8 to 9 o'clock, and then we have another one at 10 o'clock, and then we have another one at 12 midnight. It didn't seem like that. It was, this is the specific date that we're going to go, and I can't remember what time I got there, but dang, it was a long investigation. It was like a long...
What year did you go? Sorry.
It was the year of the pandemic. It was like right before everything.
2019.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the reason and I'm going to tell you why it was so long, because we had so many people sign up for the tour that they actually turned people away.
They turned me away.
Yeah.
And you know what, by the way, like all the money that they collect stays at the school. Yeah. We don't profit of anything.
No, and that's what I mean is like, I mean, it seemed more authentic, and like I just liked going there and just experiencing it. Again, I didn't uncover anything, but it was just the experience. Like it was the first time that I actually felt like, oh, I was an investigator. Oh, I was a part of something, rather than doing this tour for a couple of hours and then it's like, well, okay, kind of got a history lesson.
Have you ever had people reach out to you wanting to go on investigations that traditionally aren't people
all the time?
Like, and do you turn them away?
Well, what I do is here's the criteria. I have certain criteria that I look for. I'm sorry, I keep moving away from this mic again. I have certain criteria that I look for an investigator to be part of this team. I like to give classes, and in those classes, and I tell people I'm evaluating as we're going along. So if I see you sitting back there like, oh yeah, I know everything, yeah, then you're not a good fit, because you have to be open-minded on this type of thing. If I see you back there start dozing off, then I'm going, okay, you're in the wrong place. That's what I'm thinking, right? So I'm making mental notes on the attendees, and then the ones that seem to have the enthusiasm, the desire to learn, to know, explore the unknown, those are the ones that I look for. So basically the classes are, they're twofold. One is to demystify and help people understand what a paranormal investigator is and what investigating is all about. But number two, it kind of helps to build a pool of possible applicants. So we just recently invited a new team member. Well, I say new. He's been with us, about a couple of weeks now? Jason?
Yeah, like a month or so.
Jason's an EMT. And he attended our classes, and he has a certain enthusiasm about him, about this kind of stuff, Then I just recently invited another person to join us. She's a high school science teacher. So, there's a trial period, of course, like anything else. But you have to show the enthusiasm and the desire to explore the unknown.
Yeah, and we also don't, and this was brought up with Ramiro in one of the classes since the beginning. He'll tell you, we don't want someone that just wants to go for the hayride,
Yeah.
Experience something and I'll see you later. No, that's not what this is about.
And another thing is you need to be willing to participate in, setting up the equipment, which should take us like an hour or two.
Yeah.
And it's not like you are going to go there and then you're going to start, asking questions. You need to know the equipment. You need to know how to use the equipment. You know how to set up the equipment. And people, when they go and do that, and just by doing that, they're like, no, this is not for me.
Yeah.
Just because they are actually doing what is behind the scenes.
Yeah.
If you were evaluating us right now, who would you take?
Oh, me?
The skeptic?
Anthony?
Yep.
Why Anthony?
Because the way that he thinks is he's not
So we
influenced.
don't have brains over here.
He's not influenced by anything.
Yeah.
He will be open to see what is out there and not freaked out.
Because I've always wanted to experience it, but I've never have. And the little stuff that I've heard, like my parents say, oh yeah, this door moved or opened, and I right away very skeptical. Oh, it was the wind. It was this.
It's because you set up the cameras.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good at setup.
Just because I came here and I was just on my phone expecting the hayride, I was just like, all right, after a couple hours, these
He
guys
gets
are out.
offended easily.
Yeah.
Let me ask, did the spaghetti hit meatballs?
No.
Forget it.
Yeah, that's what, definitely wasn't a ghost.
No. No.
Wasn't an Italian one anyway.
Mexican spaghetti.
You know what? Honestly, I would have to say it would be him because he displays characteristics of non-linear thinking.
Thank you.
We're easily
I
influenced.
want something.
Okay. Yeah, good job, Anthony.
Yeah,
They picked me.
You're in a Bud Light, man.
All right.
But it's not on me; it's on them.
All right. So looking at all of our equipment, can we be like amateur paranormal investigators? Like we got cameras, we got the
Anthony.
crew, we got Anthony. That's
That's part of it. Having all the gizmos and all the gadgets, that's one small part of it. The part that really counts is when the people who are doing the actual investigation, when you walk into a room, are you going to be scared? Number one, because emotionally,
Definitely not able.
yeah, emotionally,
that's why I was a no-go. Like immediately she was like, this guy's a loser. He's scared of everything.
The first 5 minutes you can hear, what was that? I'm out here.
yeah. When we walk into an environment, and the reason I say that is because I've had the unfortunate experience of encountering something negative that came after me during an investigation. And I think I mentioned this before. It almost broke me. But I went ahead and was able to deal with it, and I was able to continue on. I had another investigation that involved federal law enforcement, and in that one, I had to use holy water after the investigation.
Wow.
The only time I've ever had to do that in my 20 plus years of investigating. That's how bad this place was. When you go into these places, you cannot go in there, and again, I stress this during the class, you cannot go in there with your emotions bouncing all over the place.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't. You have to if you have fears, you have to learn to confront them, and not necessarily be able to resolve them, but confront them and accept them. Because if you can accept your fears, you can then learn to deal with them eventually. Same thing with investigating. When you can, if you're afraid of the dark, you have to learn to accept that and be able to walk in it, walk around in it. You know. So I often stress when you walk into investigation, you have to learn to emotionally detach from the environment.
Yeah.
Because if you go in there again and you're all pumped and you're all hyper or emotionally you're all over the place, the analogy I tell people is it's like taking a cat and putting it up against a wall. If it's a rough wall, the cat's going to find a place to hook up its claws, right? And be able to climb up that wall. But if it's a glass wall, there's nothing there for the cat to hang on to. Mm-hmm. Same thing here. When you go into a place, we don't know what we're going to encounter.
Yeah.
So if you encounter something there that's not friendly, it's going to use that emotional state of yours as a vulnerability.
So like in a little bit of time, you guys are going to go investigate, right? How do you guys prepare for that? Or like, are you guys in the zone right now? Or like, how does one prepare for an investigation?
What?
But like he says, like, you know, you are doing your daily activities, and then when we get to the place that we are going to investigate, it's like a switch, you know, like turn off. And then when we start, or before we start, we set up all the equipment, but when we start the investigation prior to, we do protect ourselves, and Ramiro can tell you more about that. Come on, Ramiro.
Oh, sorry. I'm looking at Tony like, okay, you're next, Tony.
You're Ramiro.
Oh. See, we get so confused sometimes. We're twins.
Yes, Ramiro, Tony.
Yeah.
Yeah, what we do is we basically lay the groundwork for the investigation when we get there. And what we're doing is we're telling, if something is there, just to be safe, is we're telling them, okay, you know, we're coming here. We're coming with courtesy and respect, and we expect the same. We're not here to antagonize anybody. We're not here to try to kick anybody out, because we don't cleanse. Okay, that's far from it. We're not trained for that. So we basically give whoever's there an opportunity to speak and say their side of the story if that's what they want. Mm-hmm. And so, you know, and we tell them they're not going to be allowed to use anybody or touch anybody, because that's not our purpose there. So we do that during before the investigation, and then during the investigation, if we feel that somebody's getting too close to us, we put similar bound statements out. And then at the end of the investigation, once it's wrapped up, then we use the same thing, but we detach from the environment. And what we're doing is basically we're putting a boundary up between our world and their world. And we're saying, okay, it's over. We've had our fun and games, but it's time for you to go back to your world, because we're returning back to ours. And I use that because I've also had an attachment follow me home one time from Concordia. And so it took me a while to get rid of it, but I was able to. So ever since then, I've learned. But again, that's the purpose of trying to demystify when I do these classes, because people think, oh, it's just a matter of I just walk in, start investigating, boom, boom, boom. But there's those unseen ramifications that can occur.
Does it ever follow you, like in your dreams or anything? Like, do you dream about a certain place or seeing something that you saw?
I have nightmares about my in-laws. Does that count?
No. Well, that's normal.
No, actually, one of the things I tell people is that I often hear that I have bad dreams, or I feel like I have sleep paralysis or things like that. And I often tell people, okay, before we jump to that other, that line that, okay, well, something is here, I'll tell them my own personal story about, well, I used to have that similar type issue until I was diagnosed with sleep apnea. And during the evaluation process, I don't know if any of you guys have been diagnosed with it, right? So they ask you, do you have weird dreams? Have you ever woken up and feel like you can't move? That's part of sleep apnea, And because your mind stops, when you physically stop breathing during when you're asleep, so your brain becomes oxygen deprived during those times. And like me, I mean, when I got evaluated, I was stopping. I was, literally 52 times an hour. I was stopping breathing. So think about that, And many people in many people snore, even though many deny it. And I'll ask them, "How do you know?" Well, I've been told by that. By whom? I was interviewing a client the other day, and he was telling me, "Oh, I don't snore, but I've had sleep paralysis." Okay, great. How do you know you don't snore? Well, I've been told. By whom? Are you married? No. Was that your partner? Yes. I hate to break the news to you, but if you're dating, they're not going to tell you snore or fart. Come on now.
Yeah.
They're trying to keep it in the happy zone for now. Wait till you get married, then that's a different story.
Yeah.
Don't scare them, Ramiro, yet.
So, so we'll try to, we'll try to let them know there's other plausible, rational explanations for what you may be experiencing. It's not a matter of, okay, I've got the equipment, I want to go investigate, let me set it up and see what happens. Again, there's those ramifications that can occur.
Like, remember the story that we told you about the Horizon Fire Station? So after I had that breakdown that I cried like for 5 minutes, I had to stop. Like, I couldn't keep going. It was like my body was shut down, no energy whatsoever. So I went to the lunchroom, and then Ramiro started telling me, "You have to put your boundaries. You have to put your boundaries." So we did, and all that we finished maybe like around 4 a.m., 4 a.m. And I got back home and couldn't sleep, because when you are so tired, that those times that you can't sleep, that you are so tired. So it took me a while to get to fall asleep, and then like around my normal wake up time, 7, 8 a.m. I felt tired like for the whole day, and Ramiro was actually getting in touch with me. How are you feeling? That's another thing that we have a lot of support from him. So but that's the only time that I remember like feeling like the afterwards. But from there to now, like, I have not felt that at all.
You never called me. What is this? What?
Does she get special treatment?
No, it's because I don't recognize him with a mask. That's all. I'd be like, I don't want to call him and go, What are you wearing? No,
nothing.
Tony, I don't think you've had those issues, have you?
No, I haven't.
No, you called.
At least not that I know of. I know my wife, she's always known about this. I've always told her I'd always wanted to do something like this. But her reaction was, "Oh no, heck no." She doesn't want to hear a thing. She wasn't want to know nothing about it. She goes, "Look, you go and do what you got to do, and only because you've told me this for so long. You want to do it, go ahead and do it, but don't you bring nothing back with you."
Yeah.
And I go, "No, look, this is what we do, and hey, but yeah, my wife is, she's not, she just doesn't like this stuff, at all.
And one thing I tell people who are during the classes, as I said, it's very important to have familial support, because if you don't have that family support, you feel like you're isolated. Mm-hmm. So it's very important to have that, because without that, you can't really become an investigator. You might do it for fun, but that's about it.
Yeah. All right. So Pat's not in studio, but he actually had a question for you guys. I actually asked him. I was like, "Hey, Pat, since you're not going to be in,
I'll tell him I'm wearing corduroy pants."
Oh, I'll let him know. And remember, Pat's the good-looking one, right?
I know. That's what I'm saying.
So here we go. His question was, "What's your favorite scary movie?" I know it's kind of like typical Pat
Do movies
question,
even scare you anymore?
but like when you guys like watch movies, are you guys like entertained by horror?
Believe it or not, my only movie that I always was scared was The Exorcist, the original.
The original
with Linda Blair. That's the only movie that scares me up to today, and I had seen it like 30 times.
Yeah. Wow. What is it about that movie? Like, I don't know what it is. Like,
my mom hates that movie.
Yeah, I just saw that again, and it's so cheesy. It's so corny. But for whatever reason, it still scares me. And I'm like, holy cow, this movie's scary. Yeah.
The pea soup.
The pea soup? What is that?
When she throws up the...
Oh, I was like, is that a movie? I was like, what movie? Yeah, that... I can't eat peas because of...
What about you,
telling
Tony?
you, no. I mean, I watched the Look, I look at The Exorcist and I laugh.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, well, es el diablo. Just tries to, I was like, why are you laughing at that? I go, because look at her neck. Look at how she twists. And I go, it goes the pea soup, like, things like that. And she's like, man, oh my God.
You see why Ramiro doesn't check on him, right?
Yeah. No. I mean, I love my scary movies, but one that really, no, I'm still looking for one that's gonna. Whoa, what the heck was this?
Yeah, they said Insidious is the scariest one. I think
one or two,
right? One of those.
One or two. Insidious, one or two. Either one.
You know what I'm thinking about right now. Ramiro was talking about like his filtering process, like how he picks out some of his potential teammates, and I'm looking at Tony and I'm like, man, what the hell was it that Ramiro saw?
He saw him in a movie theater, like watching a scary movie. He's laughing.
No, but that's
because I was the only one in the room. Take me.
Like, I think Ramiro was like, yeah, everyone needs a crazy guy on their team. Like, everyone needs the enforcer.
The demon was tickling him. He's laughing.
Or like then we were at the doctor's house, and then it got to a point that we look at each other. It's like, aren't you bored? Aren't you like, yeah, this is flat? And he's like, I'm sleeping. I'm like, you know what? We should call it off because we were like, we were in a point that it was so flat that we were like
nothing going on.
Yeah.
So they thought.
Exactly, because then we found out by the cameras that things were going on. We didn't even feel it.
That's crazy. That's
true.
What about you, Ramiro? What's funny?
I don't watch horror movies.
No?
I get enough of the real thing.
Really?
Yep.
You don't watch it because why?
They're not reality.
Yeah.
It's not reality.
So it's kind of like a sports movie to you. Like when I see sports movies, I'm like, oh, this guy sucks at baseball.
Do you ever watch other ghosts? Ghosts.
I like to watch some of the paranormal reality shows because it's kind of, both my wife and I sometimes we'll suspend our disbelief on some of them, just for the entertainment value. But the reality is that for horror movies, I don't have an interest in watching them.
Really?
I mean, when you walk into a place and before you even walk in there, you just feel this surge of electrical energy hit you.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it just as abruptly leaves, and you've been checked out before you even step in the building. Tell me, what movie can replace that?
Yeah. Well, I was thinking that, like, when I think of horror movies, the ones that scare me, yeah, The Exorcist is like at the top. For whatever reason, that one still scares me. But then the ones that are creepy are not like the slasher movies. Like, the ones that scare me are like, for whatever reason, the Paranormal Activity. Like, that one's just creepy because it's like, I don't know, it's just like you have the night vision.
It seems more real.
It seems like more real. It seems
house.
like, oh, this could potentially happen. I don't know. Like, but also the Blair Witch Project. That one scared me a lot because I was just thinking, like, man, being out in the middle of the woods, anybody could do that. Like,
in the woods.
Well, your film person here could tell you that's those were filmed from like a first person perspective, so that gives you more intimacy. That gets you more involved in the scene or what's going on there, versus oh, okay, we got some actors over here doing their thing. That's why we've incorporated body cameras, because now you can see what we're seeing. Except, of course, it's all infrared, but to us, it's pitch dark.
Yeah. I don't know. Anthony,
try it. You'll like it.
I don't know. I don't really get scared from scary movies. The one movie that's always scared me, I think you guys know, the Fire in the Sky, but that was for different reasons, being abducted by an alien.
So,
terrified of that.
Is Alien something that...
Well, I'll mention something to you about aliens. Did you know that the road between I-10, between Las Cruces and Deming, is considered by MUFON, which is the Mutual UFO Network, considered one of the highest places of UFO sightings?
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's where Abel was born.
So, I mean, is that something that interests you?
Absolutely,
Okay.
because, we can't really be alone.
Yeah. When you talk about some of the TV shows, like the paranormal TV shows, you had the opportunity to be on Ghost Adventures. When you see their investigations, because I'm sure you've all seen their investigations that they do, are there times when you call BS, or are you like, for the most part, they're doing like it's legit?
Well, you got to keep in mind that everything's for entertainment. So everything's being done for entertainment value, for ratings, for audience appeal. Mm-hmm. So when people, they show up at a place and they're showing this, like say a big truck with a bunch of equipment and all that, people automatically assume they're the ones that set up cameras. They even say, oh yeah, we set up cameras. Well, by we means his crew, his production crew. Mm-hmm. Number two, when you see people walking into rooms when allegedly, we're walking in there by ourselves, chances are, they have a sound person, they have a production or producer with them, they have a photographer with them, and they'll have one more person with them as well. Usually somebody in first aid.
And they're the ones that are not on camera.
They're not on the camera. And I will tell you that usually those are the ones, at least the ones that I talk to when I film those 2 adventures with him, their sound guy hears a lot, but they don't put it on TV. When we were doing the Doña Ana County Jail, and Zach, I don't know if he was doing something for the benefit of the show or not, but he says, I see something down at the end. This was on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
Oh, I see something. I'm being drawn to this window here, blah, blah, blah. So, of course, I had to step out of the way for the cameras to focus on him. So I'm standing next to the sound guy, and I turned to my left, and I asked him, did you just hear that over there? Yeah. He goes, yeah. I go, what did it sound like to you? He goes, like a woman laughing. That's what I heard. But did it make it to the final cut? Absolutely not. But on the other hand, one of the things about a lot of those paranormal reality shows is that they ask you for everything you've documented there, so they can focus in on whatever their show, right?
Yeah.
I don't do that. I give them maybe 50% tops of whatever we document, because then I'm curious to see, all right, do your experiences, will you encounter what we encountered there?
Yeah.
And I'm going to have to say that for both those episodes, they had experiences there that we never told them about. But we had shared experiences. For example, in when they did the Doña Ana County Jail, and it's Aaron and I think and Jay Wasley, they're down on the 1st floor of that cell area, right? We didn't tell them at that point that I had recorded a dark object popping its head out of a door. I also didn't tell them that we had heard footsteps in that same area. Didn't tell them that we had seen I had a video clip of a dark shadow popping up. Didn't provide that information to them. Yet the reaction you see there is their own encounter. Mm-hmm. That they didn't get that from me. So that means whatever they experienced was genuine. They saw a dark figure in that same hallway. When we did the Deming location, there was a shadow that we recorded in one of the hallways. When after they finished for that evening, I went in there to see how everything was going, and I was talking to Jay, and I asked him, did you encounter that shadow over there? What? You encountered a shadow over there? Oh no, let's go talk to Zach. Let's go talk to Zach. But Zach was already tied up doing something else. So they saw a shadow too. Same thing we did. Yeah. So, but that was not part of the evidence we provided to them.
Yeah.
That's something we kept back because, again, we want to see, are you guys for real or, entertainment?
What was your thought of that?
They experienced things that we did. They validated what we encountered. So that means unless somebody else gave them the information, which I hadn't posted up until that point, what they whatever it is that they encountered.
Yeah. What are your guys' thoughts, Tony and Jackie? What are you?
Well, now that I am behind the scenes, I can see many things that are, like act per se, but
like what, for example?
Like reactions.
Cause I'll give you that's one of my favorite shows to watch. But again, kind of like what Ramiro was saying, I understand that these guys are trying to sell their show. They wouldn't be. It's 20 seasons that they've had or something like that. Yeah. I get it. But I feel like a lot of the times, Aaron, he's that. They all have their character. Like Aaron's that big guy, the scaredy cat. Like he's probably the Abel of the group, you know. Whereas Zach is like, he's the main guy. He's the muscle man. He's the good-looking dude. And then he's like, he's the one that's like, oh, like everything has to come through him. And I get that, but sometimes I want to know if like what I'm seeing is real. Like, cause sometimes I feel like he's like, oh, I really feel like, look at my hand, like, oh, and this and that. And do you guys even do that when you're on an investigation? Are you guys?
Well, I curse a lot.
Oh, okay. Oh, I want to see that show.
That's my, like, every time I feel something that I don't feel comfortable, I curse, like, all the time. And Ramiro's like, Jackie, like, you know, it's, as soon as I feel something, I just curse. And Zach does a lot, you know. And another thing, like, in regards if it's reality or not, one of the shows that it really got to my attention from Ghost Adventures was the Demon House. Okay, so I live I live in Chicago, but I usually travel a lot to Indiana. And the place where that home is, I before, you know, Ghost Adventures or whatever, I heard about that house. And it has a very dark history because it's documented, you know, all the people that had died and very, very, a lot of things that the show didn't actually show, like Ramiro says.
Yeah.
And when he was doing, when he purchased, actually that home now belongs to him, to Zach. So when he was doing, he was doing that second one, the show went after he purchased the house and he started feeling like possessed, and all his reactions, it looks so legit. And so that's the only one that I can tell you that really impressed me. Like that I can see that, you know, feeling like out of him, not acting more than he should. Yeah, but that Demon House is another thing. Yeah.
Tony, have you seen the show?
Yeah, I want to go investigate that Demon House. Heck
Yeah?
Oh yeah, I want to.
Yeah.
But
Well, I've seen the show, but you know, and that's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah.
But you know, after knowing what goes behind the scenes, I mean, I know they gotta do things for the ratings. They wouldn't be up if people weren't watching the shows. They need ratings, so they're gonna do things, show things that to make people more interested into the show.
Yeah.
For me to, I mean, I'm doing the investigations, and when I'm watching those shows, I'm like, oh, come on, you don't say that, or you don't do that, or you heard that noise, but you know, look for what caused that noise. I mean, it could have been the guy back here with a camera or something, and they don't do that. They say, that's what it was. It was, no, come on, you know, do the investigation. And they don't, but they leave it like that for the ratings. And I understand. I mean, it's a show. They need the ratings.
Yeah.
And plus, if I'm not mistaken, I could have sworn that I read an article saying that they had caught them messing with the evidence. Did you hear anything from me on that?
There's always stories that come out about some of these shows.
How true it is, I don't know, but I could have sworn I heard.
We've been, you know, I know I've been accused of that, of manipulating evidence, and it's like, well, you know, I'm not here to prove to you. I'm not here to convince you. I'm here to show you what we documented, and whether you choose to believe this or not, it's up to you.
Yeah.
You know, we're not going to try and force it down your throat. But the you know, the thing is that. If you were to see us during an actual investigation and they made a show about it, we'd probably be canceled within the first episode. Because this is our investigation. Because if you see us walking around in the dark and we hear something, we're not going, oh my God, we're going, did you hear that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
You get more quiet and more into it, kind of like.
Well, no, we're actually more calmer. You know, did you hear that? Oh yeah. Or something's touching me. Okay, do you mind? I know you want to touch me or you want to reach out to me, but you need to step away. That's pretty much our demeanor.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like watching. Remember that guy that used to come out on PBS, Bob Ross, the painter?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of all right. That's fine. Oh yeah, you want to come and talk to us?
Until Jackie curses.
That's,
fall asleep.
That'd be a good show. Like
because Is that something that you have wanted to maybe pursue? Like, maybe not like a show, but maybe one night, like a special. Like one night you do an investigation and it gets broadcast on, on a streaming service or
That would be nice. I mean, we did something
Similar,
familiar with the
APCC.
Yeah. Honestly, I think we've done. We just filmed recently with EPCC for their virtual tour. But honestly, I think if you do something like that, then it kind of takes away from our original purpose, our original intent. Then you start becoming commercialized.
Yeah.
And then then you have those expectations, and then so it's kind of like, okay, we'll show up, we'll do it, and if we find nothing, then what?
Yeah. I mean,
and that's what we told you like earlier, that not all the time, like 90% of the time, you really don't see or hear anything.
Yeah.
So out of those 8 hours, maybe you hear 5-6 things. So like Ramiro says, will be very boring.
Sorry, Ben.
Yeah,
There's no future for you helping them out.
I mean, if to do a live stream, I think that would be interesting.
Yeah.
Just so that people see what actually goes into an investigation, but there wouldn't be any of the drama.
Yeah.
So after a while,
but that's what I'm saying. Like, wouldn't you take pride in that? Like, wouldn't you be like, hey, this is what I do. This is the reality of it, and I like it. Like, if you guys don't like it,
it's not.
The hell with you.
It's not for pride though. We wouldn't do it for pride or anything like that. I think we when we've done live streams from locations, that's just to let people know, hey, this is where we're at, and these are the stories, and this is the place, and that raises the awareness of the location for people who may not know it. When we did the Sombras de Pasado restaurant, there were people who were going, I didn't know this place existed, and I've lived in El Paso all my life. When we've done the EPCC, I didn't know these things were there. I didn't know they had a campus downtown. What the hell? When I was first called in I think it was 2017, I was like, there's a campus downtown?
Yeah.
Okay. You see? So it helps to raise, the historical perspective, the awareness of the location, which is great.
How do you vet people? Like, if they were to call you, like if my house was haunted and they...
Well, that's another thing I teach
That's
another thing I teach in the class is that there's a process that we do for interview. And one thing I've learned over the years is that it's not just one interview. It's not somebody calling me, because one of the things I often see, sorry, I keep moving the mic back and forth here. One of the things I keep, and I'll be honest with you, on a personal level, is I see people. Oh, sorry. I see people doing this where they're posting about, we're doing an investigation tonight or this weekend, because there's a family and child involved. Okay, you're now doing this for drama. You're not doing it for them. You're doing it for yourselves. You're trying to elevate your image. You're trying to portray yourselves as the white knights in the shining armor rushing into the rescue. That's not a purpose of a paranormal investigator, at least in our opinion. So for me, that's just plain drama. Okay, I mean that really doesn't serve any intended purpose other than to inflate somebody's image. So when we do an actual, somebody does actually reach out to me, the first thing I tell them is often I get, hey, I have a friend of mine whose things are going on, blah blah blah. Okay, great. Have your friend call me. Then we can talk. I don't want to hear it first, second hand, or third hand, because you may be calling without their approval or permission. Number one. Number two, if you're truly interested in their welfare, you would encourage them to call me direct. Okay, so we get those, and that weeds out a lot of people. Okay, when the people who could truly call me telling me they're having issues going on, I will conduct multiple interviews, which I mentioned earlier. And the reason is because each interview, I will ask the same question, but I rephrase those questions for the simple reason is that, okay, I asked you one thing here, but in the second interview, you told me something different. In the third interview, now you're telling me something different. Mm-hmm. Those are red flags we look for. Because then by that time, I'll know, okay, is this truly something, something that requires an investigation, or is it just something that's being, maybe, it's just, or are they just really making this up? Am I making sense?
Yeah.
So that's what we do. We have to be very careful because, again, one of the things going in this field is that you have to be fully aware of what you're walking into. You do not want to walk into a situation that's going to all of a sudden get you entangled in police, adult protective services, child protective services, any number of organizations like that. Because I don't know about you, man, but I don't have an attorney on retainer.
Yeah.
So we have to be very careful of the situations we walk into.
Yeah.
We actually had a case where somebody tried to use the results of our investigation to break a lease, which was not kosher.
Yeah.
Luckily, we had an agreement with these people because something seemed sketchy with them after all the interviews. So I had them sign an agreement saying they couldn't use the results of this other than for their own, own personal use. No business, nothing like that. And I'm glad I did because later on I found out they try to use this.
Wow.
So you have to be very, very careful.
All right. Here's another question from Pat, and then we're going to wrap things up because I know we've kept you guys here long enough. You guys have an investigation that you guys have to, I guess, get ready to go to right now. So this is Pat's final question. If you guys had to choose to be on your who would you guys choose to be on your paranormal team? Would it be the Ghostbusters or would it be the Mystery Gang?
Oops.
None?
Nope.
No.
No Scooby.
No.
No Scooby-Doo?
No Scooby.
I don't know. Maybe Bobby Brown from the second one when he sings the theme song. But that's about it.
Just him.
Yeah.
Yeah, just him. I'm sorry.
Sorry, guys, for the stupid questions from Pat. Those are Pat's questions. So
What's going on, Pat?
yeah, now you know why Pat didn't come in studio because we didn't allow him to. But anyways, guys, I really enjoyed this podcast and just hearing you guys give your experiences and just giving more insight into what you guys do. But yeah, any questions, Anthony?
If you guys want to throw out your social media handles and stuff where people can reach you, just in case maybe somebody has an investigation for you.
You know what? I have an Instagram account, but I don't ever use it. Facebook, yeah, P.R.I. El Paso.
Okay.
And we also have a YouTube channel, Paranormal Research Investigations in El Paso. So if you do if you do a search of paranormal research investigations, you're going to pull up tons of groups like that.
Yeah.
But ours, you have to specifically add on there El Paso, Texas.
Awesome.
To separate, the East Siders from the West Siders.
West Side, baby. Peter?
No, I mean, thank you guys for coming in. I know it was a long show, but it is very insightful. We get lost in this. I love hearing about your experiences, so thanks.
Thank you for that invite.
Yeah, thank you for having us.
And if you ever go back to the Double Eagle, let me just before you wrap it up. If you go back to the Double Eagle, and you were asking me earlier about the chairs, and I don't know if I fully answered the story about the chairs.
You want me to sit in the chair?
Yeah. One of the stories is that they said that the chairs mysteriously wear out.
Yeah.
Okay. Their sad reality is they wear out because you have tourists coming in
And sit on it all the time.
and sitting in it exactly, and so that
I didn't sit in it.
It gets worn out,
Oh,
but
no.
it gets worn out from all the tourists sitting there because they heard the stories.
Yeah.
And the stories about the nightmares and all that. Oh, I touched the chair and I had nightmares. Again, that's all from people who go there and they have this preconceived notion. But if you really feel like you want to maybe possibly experience something there, the women's bathroom, which is next to that room, it's between the kitchen and that room you were in.
Okay.
That room by far, based on talking to staff and various customers, that room by far makes people the most uncomfortable.
All right. That's good to know.
Yeah, but
I
not
don't
you.
think you can get into this.
Yeah, I don't. That's good to know. I'm like, okay, well,
No,
I don't think I.
Don't you walk in the bathroom.
Once again, I have no access to
It
these.
makes them uncomfortable because everybody's trying to go in.
No, yeah. But anyways, thank you guys for coming in, Jackie, Tony, Ramiro.
Oh, no,
it was really
pleasure.
fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We really enjoyed this one.
Oh.
All right, guys.
We too.
Yeah.
Thank you again.
Thank you.
Awesome. I guess this was The Middle's Open.
Peace.